three. 1, 2, 3. Hi, everybody. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, guys, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Oh, honey, I look pale because it's wintertime. I get extra light in the winter. Shit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Man Up Monday with me and Judge Zohran. I see him backstage, so we're going to get this show started. We have a lot to talk about. Listen, New Jersey, New York, and Virginia have a big election tomorrow. I'm calling it Super Tuesday. And so do California. They have a special election with Prop 50. We're going to get into that later in the show. But I am going to start off with the New York, New Jersey election. Also got to talk about Trump's 60-minute interview. Nigeria. I guess we're going to be invading Nigeria. There's still their minerals and gas and oils and everything else. And of course, the government shutdown tomorrow will make this the longest government shutdown in government shutdown history. Yes. And and a little bit of DEI conversation. So let's get started. Yeah. Oh, hold on, honey. Did y'all catch this? Did you catch it? Yes. Oh, actually, it's backwards. Let me get the mirror camera. Yes. Yeah. You see this? First album, triple platinum, honey. Yes, because we are platinum. We are stars over here. I got my Beyonce. All right. And then I got my Malcolm X shirt on. Oops, what is this? Test. Let me do it. There we go. Honey, I will be getting a new ride casted this week. All right. I see the judge. Let me bring him in. Hi, Judge. How are you?
All right, I'll manage. Let's see if I can get this thing straightened out.
Hopefully.
Right here.
So while you set that up, I want to go.
Okay, I got it. I think. Yeah.
You look good. I want to go into the New York and New Jersey race. So New York have the New York City mayor race tomorrow with Zohran, the socialist Zohran Mamdani against Cuomo and the Republican who is not going to win. And they're saying it's a tight race, but everyone's predicting Mamdani to win. And then we have an even tighter race in New Jersey, my hometown. Governor race is either going to be blue or red, and it hasn't been red for about 8 or 10 years. So Jack Cittrelli and Mikie Sherrill. So let me share this clip here. This is from Fox News. I guess we could do it that way. Then let me go here. Yeah, so I want to play this clip because, this is breaking down the race and each candidate and the details, what we should expect tomorrow's election coming out of New Jersey.
Atlantic City.
No question. I can tell you the New Jersey Community Food Bank has its biggest need ever. It's very serious, Brian.
So the SNAP benefits. Number one, I was stunned to see 1 in 8 people in America get SNAP benefits. Yeah. Do you know that expanded 40% during the Biden years?
Not surprised.
That's stunning. So we look at that and flight delays. I saw Newark Airport about something like 120 flight delays and over 50 cancellations. So you want to get to people, tell them they can't get to where they have to go.
Exactly. The need is great. It's federal employees and it's everyone else that counts on that every month. Very serious matter. We see a lot of the local restaurants, Brian, offering children free meals for as long as this continues. This is a very significant problem that if they don't get their act together, and let's make it clear, Democrats are holding the government hostage. Democrats are preventing kids from getting their food. This canard, and I hear you interview with people all the time, Brian, about this fake out that it's Republicans is ridiculous.
So I want to talk about another area of your expertise, and that's New Jersey and the races and your formula. But I want you to hear what Chris Christie said over the weekend that he knows to be true, and he's one of the few Republicans who have won there twice. Cut 19.
When I ran, there was no roadmap for how to win New Jersey as a Republican in the 21st century. No one had done it. But we've laid the path for Jack Cittrelli. This is what he's going to have to do to beat Mikie Sherrill. 70% of the white vote, 21% of the black vote. We won 51% of the Hispanic vote. We beat a female candidate, as he is running against this time, by 15 points, and we won 58% of independents. With 850,000 more Democrats and Republicans, that's what you need to do. So the question for him on Tuesday night is, can he hit those numbers? Those are the numbers you have to hit to win in a state like New Jersey. The path has been laid out. We'll see what he can do.
Do you think he's going to hit those numbers?
Yes, I do. And they might not be identical to Chris Christie. For example, Jack Cittrelli may pull more Democrats than Chris Christie did. Jack Cittrelli may pull some other demographics that Chris Christie did. Let's not forget, Chris Christie's rhetoric there is obsolete. He didn't have 9 days of early in-person voting. He didn't have all these weeks and weeks of vote by mail. The metrics are completely different now. Let's not forget, he came within 3% 4 years ago when no one thought he could win.
And the polling's been off. Why is it so hard to poll in New Jersey?
Well, Brian, if you look at it, it's not New Jersey. Let's go to Iowa. Let's go to Seltzer. Let's go to Des Moines Register. Kamala Harris takes the lead 5 days before the election. She's now up by 3 points. Only, Trump goes on to win by 13, the biggest margin since 1972. The polling is bad in New Jersey because the polling is bad all over the country.
So right now, what are you looking at, and what's the Harry Hurley formula and prediction for Tuesday?
Well, here's the difference. 4 years ago, Jack Cittrelli did not have the Republican National Committee. He did not have the Republican Governors Association. Hardly anyone thought he could win. The polls had him losing from 8 to 15 points on the weekend before the election. I mean, nobody thought he could win, and he came 50 to 48, basically, 51 to 48. Here's what I'm looking for. Mikie Sherrill has about a 250,000 vote lead as we talk on the Brian Kilmeade show. She got that by the vote by mail. The in-person voting, it's not 50-50, but it's probably 50 point to 49 point. So that's a great job by the Republicans. Big turnout tomorrow puts Cittrelli over the top. He beat Governor Murphy. Good man, bad policies. He beat Governor Murphy soundly on election day. He will beat Mikie Sherrill even bigger. That's going to put him over the top.
And the closer with Barack Obama, I want you to hear his attack on behalf of Mikie Sherrill. Cut 16.
Mikey's opponent has now run for governor 3 times in a row. I mean, I believe in persistence, but at a certain point. So 3 times in a row. Other 2 times he lost. So this time his strategy is to suck up to the Republicans in Washington. So Donald Trump called Mikey's opponent 100% MAGA. Not a great endorsement.
So is that true? I mean, do you think he's sucking up to Donald Trump at the White House?
Not even close. He enjoys the endorsement, and it is a full-throated endorsement of the President of the United States. Who wouldn't take that? Mikie Sherrill took Barack Obama as a former president. Let's remember, Mikie Sherrill was campaigning yesterday in North Jersey, where she should have that put to bed, and that should be so comfortable. Jack Cittrelli was campaigning in North Jersey, where he needs to pick up support. You tell a lot, Brian, and you know this. You've been doing this a long time. You tell a lot by where they're campaigning. Remember, Hillary Clinton didn't think she needed to campaign in Michigan. Oops, how'd that turn out? Mikie Sherrill is bringing Obama in at the last hour because she didn't close the deal. He didn't support Zohran Mamdani, did he? He didn't support that guy, Jay Jones, in Virginia either. Obama endorsement doesn't mean much anymore.
I'll tell you what, when Mamdani says, I'll be an advisor, said some nice things, but didn't endorse him. You can't go halfway. David Drucker was on MSNBC and talked about the New Jersey race. He's a senior writer at Dispatch, Cut 20.
There are progressive operatives and some others that are a little concerned about the margin and would have preferred a more dynamic candidate in Mikie Sherrill. Her resume is pristine, Navy veteran, attorney. There is nothing wrong to say about her, but she is a part of this internal Democratic Party debate of, do we go bold and populist or do we go center left and suburban? And so the margin here, figuring she wins, which is more likely than not, the margin here is going to be something to watch because it's going to have a lot of influence on how Democrats nationally interpret what's going on with their party. I will say Republicans are more optimistic than you might think, given everything that's happening in Washington.
What do you think?
Well, he's right about that. He's wrong about a whole lot of the rest. Remember, the Republican is always losing. Chris Christie and all the good stuff, winning 2 elections, it was fantastic. But he was supposed to lose the first time. Only he won by about 4.6%. Tom Kaine was supposed to lose. Oops, only he beat Florio. Christy Whitman was supposed to lose. Only she won. So they're always wrong about this. I know this. Mikie Sherrill's resume is excellent. She flew a helicopter. Fantastic. And we thank you for your service. Federal prosecutor, it all looks good on paper. She's been a terrible candidate. Absolutely terrible.
She's really not comfortable on her feet. Doesn't look like she studies much on policy. And Jack Cittrelli's got a lot of substance. He knows exactly what he's going to do. I know Trump tonight will have a tele rally for Jack because it's a tough situation. You know, he did lose New Jersey. So you don't want to say it's going to be Trump in charge of New Jersey. But what he does have is he'll have an ally in the White House. And that'll be key. So you have to have a little bit of separation. And
but as you know, Brian, President Trump lost New Jersey to Kamala Harris by 6 points. He lost to Joe Biden by 16. New Jersey is changing. And I note this on your show, Brian. It's important. Dozens of Democrats have come out and supported Jack Cittrelli. I mean, they've put their careers and their names. Yes, not just, that's right, not just anybody. Big names. There's not one Republican that I can name that has crossed over to support Mikie Sherrill.
What's so interesting, don't take this personal, Harry, is Mamdani came out and said, I am going to mirror the tax rate of New Jersey. Are you proud of your tax rate? Is that something that should be copied by the New York City?
Said the first Democrat socialist who sadly is going to be mayor of New York City. But that will be the gift of the midterm elections, Brian. Zohran Mamdani.
Jack Cittrelli, I asked him that very question. I played the cut with him saying, we're going to be like New Jersey. And here's what he said. Cut 18.
I'm hoping this guy doesn't win, but if he does, we're going to roll out the welcome mat in New Jersey, not only for individuals, but businesses too, because here's what I plan on doing. We need to reduce the size and cost of a bloated, inefficient state government that's up 64% during the current governor's term, all of which supported by my opponent. When we reduce the size and cost of state government, I'm reducing taxes for individuals and businesses. So New Jersey is going to be more attractive than ever to New York individuals and businesses that want to flee.
So he took that and went into his policy. Go ahead.
Brian, Jack Cittrelli has deep and thoughtful answers to any question you give him. He's so experienced. He's so prepared and so ready. In a Mike Wallace, Ted Kennedy moment, Mikie Sherrill was asked, it was kind of like a throwaway at the end, like they had extra time, like they blew the interview. Oh, I'll throw one more question out. A meatball. Mikie or, Sherrill, what would be the first thing you would do if you were elected? Brian, she didn't have an answer to the first thing she would do. You had Cittrelli, I'm going to lower taxes. I'm going to get us out of Reggie. I'm going to make our energy bills lower. He could go on and on and on. You'd have to stop him. She said, I have so many things going through my head. It's a really good question. I can't think of one answer because she didn't have an answer.
Absolutely. And final thought, Harry Hurley, New Jerseyan for life, WPG talk radio host. Your prediction is?
My prediction is, and I'm the one that said that Chris Christie would beat John Corzine by between 4 and 5 points, and he won by 4.6. Jack Cittrelli, book it on the Brian Kilmeade show, will be the next governor of New Jersey.
All right, Harry, you're on the record.
So let me just say this before I go to you real quick, Judge. Any governor coming in New Jersey saying they're going to lower taxes, that's automatic lie. So I'm not in New Jersey anymore, but if I was, I will be voting for Jack. How do you pronounce his name? Cittrelli. But it's not because he had lower taxes. No governor has lowered taxes in New Jersey. New Jersey is either the second or the third highest state with the highest taxes. The third state with the highest taxes. So everything else, okay.
State with the
Taxes,
third highest taxes.
right? The state with the third highest taxes.
Yeah.
Everything else, okay. Any governor talking about taxes in New Jersey, I don't care if you're a Democrat, sit your ass down, because it's never going to happen. So yeah. Any thoughts on that? Because when he said she's campaigning still in North Jersey this weekend, that is a bad sign, because North Jersey is really blue and liberal, is really central, which is up for grabs to a certain degree, and South Jersey is where the Republicans are, and more west. So that is a bad sign for her. And I don't like the name Mikie.
It wouldn't be bad if the blues kind of faded and the red came in, but frankly, on a national scale, the fact that New Jersey, New York, and other places on the East Coast are essentially blue is a driving engine that helps out Mega, because the rest of them want to be like they think characterizes New Jersey, New York, and that body of states there. So the New York mayor's race ought to be interesting. Actually, again, it was national politics if Zohran won, because that would be another driving factor in support of Mega for the rest of the country. And they'd say, wow, look at that. That's what you get when you get blue. That's where they're going. We have to stop this before it gets started. So that would be a good thing. And it's already blue, and it's already kind of pathetic because it's a mess, just like on the far west side of the country over by the other waters of the Pacific. You've got California. But intriguing. Anyway, since you're no longer in Jersey, have fun with the watch. Let's see. I know we're going to get to some other topics.
I had to open up the window. Yeah. So I do want to get touch on Mamdani, because so you have Morgan Stanley. They're taking their company out of New York City, and they are relocating 3,000 of their employees to Dallas, and other billionaires and billionaire companies are following.
Well, that started with Tish James and what they were trying to do to Trump. So a lot of people said, no, it's not a good place to do business. And they're leaving, but tolerates it. Gets to look kind of farcical. The business center of the United States winds up being in the hands of a socialist. That doesn't breed confidence around the world. Maybe they can put up one of those old-time stockades that you used to see in the 1950 movies where the cavalry went into the forts when they had an uprising.
Well, it says the New York City election eve poll predicts Zohran Mamdani Cuomo mayor race will come down to the wire. Andrew Cuomo came in within a razor-thin 4 points of longtime front-runner Zohran Mamdani in a survey that was released today, while the leftist Democrat nominee notching 43.9% support to the former governor, 39.4%. So that's going to come down to the wire as well. It says New York City could get its first socialist mayor Tuesday. Record-breaking 2 million voters are projected to head to the ballot box.
Well,
so they're going to get
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say they're going to get a large turnout. So Curtis Sweet Saliwa, I can't pronounce his last name. He's a former guardian angel. He has 15.5%, and he's staying in. He knows he's not going to win, but he's not going to drop out and endorse neither one of them. But he don't have to endorse. He could just drop out. But so yeah, so that's going to come down to the wire. And the problem with Mamdani, and I had this thing up here. Or I want to read his agenda.
It's ridiculous.
I thought I saved it. Give me a second.
But the fact that he's doing so well in New York just makes most of the rest of the people in the country look and say, oh, wow, they are really far gone.
Well, people in New York are tired of high rent.
That may be true, but nobody else cares. In the rest of the country, they're just looking at, I use the term motion picture character in the comedy, Zohran, and they're looking at that and saying, wow, we need to keep this in mind next election where we get to vote on something to make sure that this disease does not spread. And that's what they see it as, a disease. Well, and it's not, by the way, the first socialist who ran in New York. It's just that he's probably extreme. And it goes along with what the country sees in AOC and some other Tish
because
James.
She loves them.
Yeah, and Tish James and all of that. And it just says, I used to be a Democrat. I'm a Republican now. You know, that's the general reaction that I'm running into.
Well, here are some of Zohran Mamdani's policies, right, that he wants to implement. First of all, a mayor cannot dictate whether rent goes up or freezes. That's the city council.
Oh, so, that's right. Yeah, but people think of it, and the presidents and governors, they promise to drop taxes when that's not their domain. That's in the bailiwick of the legislative body for the entities, right. But they all do that.
So it says rent freeze and housing construction, free fast buses, universal child care. And this is where it gets to the socialism. City-owned grocery stores. That's not a good thing.
That's already socialism anyway. So who's going to pay for this? See, that's where it comes in. Those real big corporate entities that work on Wall Street and make the economy of the country supposedly thrive and impact the finances and economic circumstances of the rest of the world. I imagine that they're supposed to foot the bill, which is going to simply result in them bailing. And there are alternatives that suggest them taxes, amongst others.
It says Department of Community Safety. Instead of traditional policing models, Mamdani proposes a new agency focusing on mental health programs, crisis response, and prevention of gun and hate violence.
That sounds like typical bullshit from the foolish far left that has an idealized concept of what humanity is about. And if you would only let us save you from yourselves, we'll make everything all right by making every little wuss, which most people don't idolize about anyway. So.
And he also says, strengthening sanctuary laws. God, see, there we go. Mamdani says he would not only maintain and strengthen New York City sanctuary city protections for undocumented immigrants. So,
and that will take care of him. He'll be one of the short-term mayors because he'll go to jail. There is Title 8, Section 1324 United States codes, specifically the criminal codes, that are illegal. It's a felony. So I'm waiting for grand juries to, in the second, third, and fourth of Trump's term, returning a series of indictments. It ought to be fun watching the worm
The last thing, congestion pricing and transportation supports maintaining congestion prices and expanding access for pedestrian within a congestion zone. He will also focus on cleaner streets and more efficient garbage collections. Support maintaining congestion pricing. That's not good. So that means you're going to charge people if they go in if they go uptown, you're going to probably charge them that toll fee. So again, listen, I'm sorry.
He does that. It's one thing. That's up to the legislature.
Well, the governor does, and the governor is pushing for that.
No, well, the governor can't even do that because setting the money and paying the money, raising or setting or lowering the taxes is up to the state legislative bodies. That's in just about everywhere except perhaps Nebraska. So where they have a unicameral government, where in other words, there's no House and Senate, it's all one. But other than that, it doesn't work that way. That's not the way the state of New York, New Jersey, whatever, has laid out their constitution. Well, their constitutions.
But I look at it, listen, if you guys want Mamdani so bad, your rent is not going to go down. He said freeze. That freeze may last for 6 months, not more than 12.
He can't do what he's talking about doing because the mayor doesn't have authority. To begin with, some of what he is proposing comes from the state level, local level. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets along. Now, typically what happens is if the mayor of New York speaks, everybody in the state of New York listens. But in this case, I don't think they will because it's something of a joke. Now, that said, this character doesn't have the gravity that has customarily been associated with New York mayors. So
just real quick,
it ought to be interesting.
Well, because he's a Muslim, so Planet Earth says Muslim Arabs and Africans will vote him in. Not necessarily. If they're fresh migrants or illegals, well, the illegals can't vote, but if they're fresh migrants or immigrants, maybe. But a lot of Muslims are very conservative. So, and they're business people. They own businesses. So don't let that fool you because this man is a Muslim, he automatically has the Muslim community. No, he has a certain type of Muslims, but he does not have the Muslim or Arabs because he's not an Arab. So they don't talk with him like that.
It's like I'm supposed to vote for somebody who's a Christian. He may be a pulpit pimp. I'm supposed to vote for somebody black. He may be a hustler and a criminal. So that doesn't cut much ice. See, that politics that is supposed to prevail over substance, capacity, competence, wisdom, discernment, intelligence, and integrity. But there are people who are enough to let that identity politic thing sway them and everything, but white people won't. But then they've got an old saying about American politics: you get the representation you deserve. And if your representation is stupid, asinine, and foolish, that bespeaks that the constituency is that way themselves. So
right.
You get what you deserve. Let's see what New York decides it deserves.
Well, one more thing on the New York, New Jersey elections, and I'm not even touching Virginia because who cares about Virginia? I want to play this clip from Obama. And can you hear me? Hello. Take those things off. Take that. I can hear you. Yeah, but you're going in and out. You're going in and out. I'm not muted. This clip from Obama. I can hear you. Why didn't I put him? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? He can't hear me. Let me call him to tell him to take that thing off. Every time he put the things on his ears, he has a connection problem. And I wanted to get to diaper diplomacy before we move on to the next. Hello? Hello? I was trying to call you.
Hello.
Yes, log out. Oh my God. Yes, Judge. I know. Go all the way out and take those head things off because it's messing up your connection. Well, you have to go out and come back in because it's those head things that's messing it up. Okay, fine. Yo, he does not want to listen. It's those things. Where is he? Yes.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Can we get to diaper diplomacy?
I hear you.
Okay. So I have one more clip for this New Jersey, New York election. This is Obama. This is Obama speaking. Where is it?
The point is, there is absolutely no evidence that Republican policies have made life better for you, the people of Virginia. I mean, they've devoted enormous energy to trying to entrench themselves in power and punishing their enemies and enriching their friends and silencing their critics. They put on a big show of deporting people and targeting transgender folks. They never miss a chance to scapegoat minorities and DEI for every problem under the sun. You got a flat tire? DEI. Huh. Wife mad at you? DEI. What they have not devoted energy to is helping you. They have not put forward serious proposals to lower housing costs or make groceries more affordable. They haven't improved our schools. They haven't made healthcare more accessible. They haven't shortened your commute or prepared young people for the future where AI might take their job. And all the nonsense we see on the news every day, the over-the-top rhetoric, the fabricated conspiracies, the weird videos of a U.S. president with a crown on his head flying a fighter jet and dumping poop on protesting citizens. All of that is designed to distract you from the fact that your situation has not gotten better. They do it so you won't notice that while they're helping the wealthiest, most powerful people in the country consolidate more wealth and more power, your bills are still going up. And you're waiting longer at airports because there aren't enough air traffic controllers.
So guys, go to diaper diplomacy on X and follow that person. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but go follow that page. So that
I
was
can't go on X. They banned me, or
Yeah.
they suspended me, and my appeals just go around in a circle and get nowhere. Heck, there's not even any place to appeal
I
to,
will
in
say
spite of the
something, but I
fact
don't
that
want to
it
go
says
into
it.
the X debate with you because I already told you about X.
There's nothing to do about it. It's
We
just
start a whole nother.
censorship. No, that's not going to do it. I'm not going through that shit about going up, building up several.
Okay, but that was
100,000
Obama, and he
people.
really did say that.
They can do it. I know what it is. See, this is what the real deal is with Obama, boy. His Democratic Party has engineered the circumstances that have placed so many people in positions to need something like SNAP. They're trying to make them dependent, trying to destroy initiative and self-reliance, to make them helpless. They have glorified dysfunction for decades, and they've produced a real live mess, and they've put so many people in a position to need SNAP. They have done nothing at all to reverse the trend of disposing of American jobs overseas, American industrial facilities overseas. They have reduced security at the southern border down to absolute zero. Anybody can walk in. They've made a mess. They're the ones following up on that mess that want to give up to $5,000 a month to illegal immigrant families who shouldn't even be here. They want to provide care for illegals, and they're stonewalling everything, trying to extort a compliance with these disgraceful attempts to reward breaking the law. And I would have less than respect for the Republicans if they went along with this extortion.
Mhm.
They have done it. Traffic is building up at the airports. It's their fault that these folk are on SNAP to begin with, and some self-reliant, committed to getting jobs. They've been told their whole lives for several generations how helpless they are and how entitled they are to being taken care of. Now, it's really just a mess. So
Mhm.
put the blame right where it lies, should lie, right in their lap. What is that map they have? Is it a donkey or isn't a donkey? I'm looking over here at the dictionary also. Jackass. So Jackass Party is responsible for this, and they're trying to exploit it. Now, here
Yeah.
we go loop de loop again, down the rabbit hole.
Well, I want to.
And by the way, most of us in this are trannies, so do we really give a damn about trannies getting benefits? There's a difference between not discriminating against someone because of what they are, or chi in this case, and being opposed to the practice of a thing. Uh, there are those that want to do certain things that would get you in jail if you were straight, but we don't do. But for some reason, if you support Obama's proclivities, then it's okay you happen to be of a certain persuasion. I don't think most of America wants boys frolicking around in the girls' bathrooms, shower rooms, dressing rooms, and junior high and high schools during PE, or competing against the girls in sports. I don't think anybody particularly cares for boys and girls 101A and B going out of the window because some freak wants to go around cross dressing and thinking that he's a girl when he's not. I don't think many people go for that,
Mm-hmm.
even though the communications news industries would like you to think that it's a 50-50 split. It's not. 90% American population ain't that way. So
Right.
what bill of goods are we getting fed? So it's sort of a circus, and I think the rest of the country is beginning to wake up, say, what have we been buying into for the last 50 years? What has happened? How did we get here? And this is a nightmare. This inflation has gotten ridiculous. You go into a Burger King and you wind up paying an amount of money that 5 years ago would have gotten you a sit down at a decent restaurant. I mean, it's ridiculous. You go in and you spend what 10 years ago would have gotten you 2 baskets full of groceries, and you don't even get the little part where you flip out so you can put a child in there and seat. You don't even get the child seat filled up for that price now. It's crazy.
No, it is crazy. I want to go to the Trump 60-minute interview that he did yesterday, and then also what happened with that. Of course, when CBS aired it, they edited down, but the White House,
Oh,
you saw that they released a
yeah,
whole unedited 90 minutes. The White House did. So I want to play
yeah.
I want to play a couple of clips from that interview. This is Trump talking to the interviewer, CBS.
James Comey.
So what do you think?
Well, what I think is this. There are grand juries, 24 citizens, at least 12 of whom have to vote for probable cause, who determine whether or not somebody is indicted. So the Supreme Court has even recently decreed that because of status as chief executive of the United States, under whose authority we have the Department of Justice and the Attorney General of the United States, who is a secretary of his cabinet, the president has the authority and the responsibility and the opportunity to talk to the Attorney General, to discuss what he's doing, to make recommendations, to criticize, to direct, because it's all an executive department and he is the chief executive. So what they are accusing him of, what this idiot reporter is doing, is only saying, are you going to do your job? Do you to recommend? Well, yeah, he can. So opposed to, most of the time, the president just simply says, I don't have time to be bothered. I'll leave this to my secretary. But we have had many presidents in the history of this United States who have gotten involved, who have gone forth and said, hey, this needs to be. So it's a long-standing precedent. There's nothing wrong with it. And this is what I'm talking about the poison of the communications and news industry that reports a steady, regular, appropriate practice. And they say somehow or another doing what you're supposed to do is wrong. So in civil law, for example, if a grand jury returns an indictment, you cannot go after somebody else lower down the line for dealing with a false arrest. In other words, if somebody just arrested and charged you with, say, theft, and it turned out that somebody was inappropriately arrested, there's a possibility that the wrongfully arrested person might be able to go after the person who arrested him inappropriately for false arrest. But if a grand jury returns an indictment, the grand jury is immune, sovereign immunity. You can't touch them. And they step in and they shield anybody who's below that. So if Donald Trump says, go get these people, fine.
Mm-hmm.
If they return indictments, they have to stand trial and answer to the charges. It's not him anymore.
Right.
But that's his job, to make these recommendations, to deliver these insights, and to oversee such things.
Well, this is him here talking about Pakistan nuclear.
But they don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
Not nuclear weapons, is my understanding. North Korea has, but not nuclear
They don't
weapons.
go and tell you about it. And, you know, as powerful as they are, this is a big world. You don't necessarily know where they're testing. They test way underground where people don't know exactly what's happening with the test. You feel a little bit of a vibration. They test and we don't test. We have to test. And Russia did make a, you know, little bit of a threat the other day when they said they were going to do certain forms of a different level of testing. But Russia tests, China does test, and we're going to test also.
So we are
Doesn't
going
it
to
sort of make
we're going-
sense? You know, you make nuclear weapons, and then you don't test. How are you going to do that? How are you going to know if they work? We have to do that.
Apparently, we don't need to
good
test our
point.
nuclear weapons because they're the best in the world, according to experts I've spoken
According
with.
to me, we have the best, and I was the one that renovated them and built them during a 4-year period, and I hated to do it because the destructive capability is something you don't even want to talk about. But if other people are going to have them, we're going to have them. And if we have them, we have to test them. Otherwise, you don't really know how they're going to work. And we don't want to ever use them. And in the meantime, I've solved 8 wars. I knocked out 8 wars. I have 8 wars. I brought a little list for you if you'd like to see it. But I took 8 wars and stopped during an 8-month period, during 8 months before the 9th month, I stopped 8 wars. The only one I haven't been successful yet in, and that'll happen, is Russia-Ukraine, which I thought actually would be the easiest one because I have a very good relationship.
Okay.
Well,
So
he's
that was
about
his
right. And see, let me explain something. We as a nation have a history of absolute disasters that we've suffered because we relied on untested weapons. The United States Navy, which was supposed best in the world, suffered a lot of disasters at the hands of the Japanese. Our submarines were impotent because all of these torpedoes that we had made and put into service were untested, and they did not work. And event after event, incident after incident of submarine commanders bravely maneuvering their subs into position to attack the Japanese naval forces and commerce, and they hit with the torpedoes only for the things to be duds. So we've had that. We've had weapon after weapon, aircraft, we've had artillery, we've had tanks, we've had other paraphernalia we've been so proud of put into production and then found that it doesn't work or they didn't work when they actually had to pause and go to war. So you make nukes. Remember, since the 1960s, which is about 60 some years ago, that we have last had a round of testing these nukes. So we have improved. We have a whole several generations of nukes in place and equipping our strategic forces, and we've never detonated one and don't know if they work.
right.
Be real weird if you threaten somebody and then it didn't work. And by the way, stands in this, and we gave the nuclear engineering plans to Pakistan, and as I understand things, bin Laden was the conduit that delivered the engineering plans to the Pakistani, and that was some of the very ill-advised stuff that got done about 1980 by the U.S. government because they wanted to make Pakistan a rival of nuclear-capable India to offset them so neither got too powerful.
Well, I want to play this last clip here. This is 34 seconds, and this is his quick thoughts on the.
I agree.
So,
Problem is, by the way, back to what we were just talking about, those nukes. Pakistan, India, North Korea, People's Republic of China, some other places in the world, Iran, they don't like us too much.
mhm.
And what's going on is the bride open. We've let these folk come across. So you may have a situation here where you've got somebody who's got a dirty bomb that is to be set off using military grade explosives. And you've got murderers, drug dealers, gangsters, thieves, psychopaths. You've got you've got saboteurs, you've got anarchists, you've got terrorists who have been invited in, and they are in place, so the ICE agents have to. And by the way, you saw that on the ground years ago. My ex-wife and I were traveling through Miami, and we saw some innocent Americans because of a prank that some idiots who were working for customs pulled off on them were to go outside of the secured area. These two Americans got thrown to the ground like that and roughed up. So if you can do non-American citizens that way at the border, hey, I'm not upset about somebody who is at probable cause to a state or supposed to not be here, and you're trying to take them into custody and they resist arrest. Now, remember the famous nightsticks, those yard-long clubs? You remember cops used to take them out and put them in their holders when they got out of the squad cars to give you a ticket.
Honey, that was from your generation, not mine. But yes, I've seen it on television.
Well, I mean, this was.
Hello? All right.
Are we off again? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you probably can't hear me. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. He don't want to listen. First of all, he's not going to listen to me. Second of all, he's not going to listen to a woman. Hello? I can't hear or see you. We cannot hear you or see you. Yes, Jake. Yes. Yes. There is a solution. There's a solution, Jalen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You probably can't hear me. There is a solution.
I can hear you.
But try to tell him that.
I can hear you.
If you are a man, he'll probably listen to you.
Well, look, I told everybody I've been hacked. I'd like to be able to do something about the fact that I'm hacked. It's got nothing to do with the damn internet, and the internet is beyond my control. And it ain't to be fixed. Now, it may suck, but there's only so much you can buy into it. It's got to do with location, and it's got to do with the fact that a lot of these cities have gotten in the way of what's happened. It's just the thing. We put up with it.
Solution that you refuse to let somebody, and I could have had somebody.
What is the solution? There is none. I have paid for people who I have paid in the past for people who in the international scene.
2 years you have not.
Yes, I have.
No, you have
you
not.
don't know
because I know.
The problem is the same. The problem is that there is not a perfect system. The system is not. It is subject to all sorts of corruption. Now,
I don't want to hear nothing about the corruption because people in the chat are saying, "Well, get a new phone and get Wi-Fi." Oh, he got a new phone.
Well, God damn it! I got two. Excuse me. I've got 2 TB phone, 2 TB iPad, 4 TB desktop, and the problem is that there is a hack that.
Yeah, exactly.
That thing is not yet removed. I'm not going to tell what I've come up with that they've come up with in collaboration. After hours of consultation, that may be able to. Now, that is not just a simple matter. So I think it is absolutely ridiculous that it has gotten to this. But it is because we have to spend so much damn time sending pictures of ourselves in foolish attire when we're out of the club in a bar getting drunk, and we got to show everybody where we were, that nobody cares where we were. So we have degenerated from an excellent opportunity to educate ourselves, secure information, and communicate into a gossip thing that is trivial. Now, that's the case. So get over it. I'm trying to work with this. It's aggravating. Getting out from under it has caused me a lot of money. Has cost a lot of money. So anyway, I'm working on it. now.
Maybe we should have you just
Hush.
call in next time.
Yeah, I'd rather do that. Now,
Oh, you know what?
back to this
Yeah, we'll just
foolishness
try that
that
next
we've
Monday.
got right now.
Okay.
There is so much absolutely ridiculous about what we do not know, about our profound ignorance, that is just abysmal. We get suckered into and pimped and hustled by the worst idiocy that we hear on television. This woman in blue was asking the most inane, stupid questions that in how the government works and what's going on and what the circumstances are would conclude with the asking of some more pertinent questions that do not include this let's attack Trump because we've got nothing to offer. Now, what do you expect the president to do who's taking care of his job and our business when you have people who have clearly broken long-standing federal, who are here jeopardizing ordinary good citizens, death, disease, drugs, crime, and all sorts of disorder, who are attempting to either personally involve themselves in corrupting our politics and system, voting illegally, or being used falsely engineer outcomes that are not merited by voter turnout. This is absolutely atrocious. You expect us to do? I mean, it's like, where in the hell did you come from? So let's get back to reality. The man is doing his job. And we heard from this jackass in chief who is pushing this damn rainbow and expecting us to get upset because a tranny contingent, which represents less than 0.5% of the country's population, is not getting everything they want to corrupt the rest of the 99.5% of the population. That's absolutely ridiculous. They've got their rights under a system like ours, but that's collateral damage. You can't help it if you want to keep your rules. You just have to overcome it. But we have to sit there and help them do their damage to this country and its moral fiber. Now, that's absurd.
Well,
so
I want to.
Anyway,
I want to. Can you hear me?
That? Trump's
you can hear
doing
me, right?
your job.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? He can't hear me.
Hello?
Go out and come back in. Go out and come back in. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Go out and come back. Honey, I'll be trying to do this in 2 hours and it's hello? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Hello? ¿Cómo está? Muy bien. Hola? Yes, America is a modern day Babylon. So guys, going forward, the judge will be calling in instead of being on video.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
I
me?
hear you.
All right. I want to swing to
Yeah, well, anyway, I had a good speech going there.
We heard the speech.
Good. Well, I couldn't hear anybody else coming back, so I went out and came back in.
Now we can't see you.
Well, I could see myself for a little bit. I don't know why I went out.
That's a good suggestion, Jaron. I'm gonna put on a paper. You can't hear me.
Okay, this is great.
Can you still hear me?
I hear you fine.
Fix your
And
camera.
speaking of the topic, as I'm looking at my screen right now, it says, please be advised that there appear to be unauthorized connections
Mm.
with your system.
Well, I want to swing to
Somebody,
Nigeria.
in other words, somebody's listening in.
Yeah, let them listen. They've been listening for 2 years.
I know, but they're interfering. That's the
That's
problem.
fine. They've been
I
interfering
don't mind
for
them
2
listening,
years.
but
So if you like
sorry.
it, I love it. So let's go to Nigeria. Yes. So what is going on in Nigeria? Apparently Trump wants to invade. I'm saying
He's
invade
not
Nigeria.
invading
Wait,
Nigeria.
can I finish? Can I
Go
finish?
ahead.
Can I finish? I said that I'm saying invade. He wants to send troops to Nigeria because there are Christians being killed. So I put in Google, are Christians being killed in Nigeria? It says yes, Christians are being killed in Nigeria amidst complex ongoing security crisis. Though the characterization of this violence has a targeted Christian genocide is a subject of intense debate. Both Christians and Muslims are victims of widespread violence perpetuated by various armed groups, which is true. Boko Haram, however you pronounce his name, he kidnapped Christians and Muslim girls, right? So I want to play this clip from Fox and talk about it.
An urgent message from President Trump demanding Nigeria stop the brutal murders of thousands of Christians in the country or face possible action from the Pentagon. He posted in part, quote, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Paul Adamu is a Nigerian Christian who was kidnapped by Boko Haram 2 years ago. He joins us now. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. Please tell us what happened to you.
It was such a disheartening situation. 2 years ago, I was kidnapped by the dreaded Boko Haram along my way to the airport while I was traveling to Cameroon to meet some of my colleagues, and then I got kidnapped along the line, along the route.
And you were held for how long?
12 days.
Okay. And there are many people, especially young girls, who have been kidnapped by Boko Haram, put into forced marriages, forced conversions. They're still in captivity. The situation there is quite dire. You heard what President Trump has said. Here's what Nigeria's president has said in response. He said that the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. What's your message? What's it like to be a Christian in Nigeria?
First, I want to thank and applaud the United States of American President Donald Trump for designating Nigeria as a CPC, because this is one of the things that we have always wanted. For the message of the Nigerian president, that I think at this point, I will say that there is a time when propaganda has no appeal, where propaganda has lost an appeal. And this is actually the time, because whatever is happening in Nigeria at this moment, I will say that Nigeria is the worst place to be as a Christian, like the worst place in the whole of the world to be as a Christian, because you wake up every day with news of killings. Every day with news of massacring of Christians. It's totally a genocide that is happening here in Nigeria. There is nothing anybody will tell me, because I have been in here for as long as I know. I've been in these places where these attacks have taken place, I've seen women who are crying for the loss of their husbands. I've seen children who are crying for the loss of their parents. I've seen parents who are crying for the loss of their children. I've been to churches that have been burnt down. These are not things that I've heard from the news or someone telling me. This is something that I witnessed somewhere. I've been myself. I've witnessed where terrorism is at the highest point, where people are killed and slaughtered like chickens every day.
Paul, I don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to ask you one last question. How have you and other Christians kept the faith during this persecution?
We are grateful for the organization I work with, Irish Global, who have taken it upon themselves to care for these persecuted Christians by providing relief materials, emergency kits, and then also providing them with discipleship, where they are being told that despite all that is happening to them, Christ still loves them.
Paul Adamu, just so you know, the African church, the Nigerian church in particular, the Christians there have been an amazing example of faith through persecution and martyrdom. And we are praying for all of you very much. And we hope the president will do something that will make a difference for your religious freedom in your country. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. And God bless you.
I'm Steve.
So, are you there, Judge?
I'm here.
First of all, I couldn't really understand a lot of stuff he was saying, but I got the gist of it. You know, he's saying Christians are being targeted. Listen, there are a whole bunch of different religious groups throughout the world that are being targeted right now. So should America, should America go into every country where Christians are being killed? No, I think not. So why does Donald Trump really want to send troops into Nigeria? Why?
I can almost guarantee you that the reasons stated are not the real reasons, and it's more what they call saber rattling. First off, Nigeria has nukes. One of my college roommates was a nuclear scientist, and he is, or if he's not dead now, in Nigeria. He was highly connected with their energy. They know how to make nukes. In about 5 to 10 years, Nigeria would be the 4th largest country population-wise on the planet Earth. They have massive petroleum resources, mineral wealth. They have everything they need if they can just settle down. They have an internal problem with the Hausa Fulani situation in northern Nigeria. 300 years ago, there were the Hausa and the Fulani. They unified. They are Muslim. You have the Yoruba and the Igbo, who have been at each other's throats for centuries. They're both nominally Christian. They're of different sects. And this whole religious persecution thing got put in high gear in 1099 when the Christians decided that they were going to go on crusade against Islam, which was running a pretty tolerant ship in Jerusalem, where Jews, Christians, and Muslims were allowed to freely practice their religion. There was a literal bloodbath when the Christians took Jerusalem during the First Crusade, and it was said that in some places in the city, blood was up to people's knees. There had been so much killing. Saladin in
So why are we doing that?
1186 restored peace to Jerusalem. He was a Muslim, and we have been fighting over it ever since, one way or the other. We have had Torquemada and the Inquisition, the witch hunts in Salem and the Americas, the burnings at the stake for heresy that the Christian faith has been responsible for, and more wars than anybody can count, and probably have been the impetus behind more people dying than for any other cause on the planet or in the planet's history. Now, that said, they're going to have to work this out, and I think there's a lot of hyperbole going on here, a lot of talking points and international diplomacy and things behind the scenes, but the U.S. is not going to go in and try to pull off another Vietnam behind the Christian faith in Nigeria. It is what it is. So,
yeah. So, but okay. So, why do you think that the U.S. wants to go to
they
Nigeria?
don't. And if
So, why did
anything,
he say that?
because you can say, you can talk. Well, let's put it this way. Did you ever listen to Muhammad Ali before he got into a fight, what he was saying? Did you ever hear anybody negotiate or say what kind of hand they had while they were playing cards that they didn't? Well, that's just the way the thing works. The Nigerian military is entirely too big for us to get in. The Nam was a disaster. We weren't told that Vietnam had 140 some million people when the U.S. just had 180 million. And that didn't work out because the American public was thinking it was just a small jungle country that didn't make any difference, and they weren't taking into the context that they had whipped the French in the behind and run them out of Nam, and Kennedy got the U.S. embroiled in trying to defend it because we couldn't back down from communism anywhere in the world, and we did not win that war. So we don't want to get in another one that way. Now,
so why did he? So he's okay.
he's
This is what
selling
Trump
wolf
posted on.
tickets.
So let me read what he posted on Truth Social. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns and blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast.
They're not going to do anything. That's just talking. Next thing, it's not just Muslims killing Christians, it's Christians killing Christians. Well, my first real girlfriend in life, she and I broke up, and she wound up dealing with a Nigerian. He was an Igbo. He got put in front of a firing squad by some Yoruba and killed, and she became a widow. So I had some Nigerian roommates, and as they told somebody who wanted to go over there badly, this was years ago, they said, "Hey, what are you?" And he said, "I'm a Christian." He said, "But what kind of Christian? Be very careful how you answer that. You will die if you say the wrong thing." Well, if I'm a Christian, but you may be the wrong kind of Christian. So effectively, that is the case. You have Christians killing Christians, Muslims killing Christians, Christians killing Muslims, people running hustles on each other, and they have to work it out. I mean, Europe was killing each other for 2,000 years before they got a modicum of peace in the last part of the 20th century, after they had had the greatest war in world history trying to work it out. So, I mean,
so why is he threatening
isn't threatening. He said we may have to. In other words,
why is Nigeria his concern?
Because Nigeria is one of the largest petroleum producing areas in the world. They have all sorts of rare earths over there that we need for our science and industry. They know how to make nukes. So it is a negotiating point, and it's also sending messages to other people. Sometimes you send a message nominally to an intended recipient, but the message is really to somebody else. Now, that's the way of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to play this clip here. Give me a second. Let me pull this up. And you, even though we can't see you, you sound much better. Honey, because you and that phone, you be slowing down the show.
Yeah, well, it just is, but it's hacked.
All right. I'm really not getting into that conversation. Let me just play this clip.
President Trump is threatening to send U.S. troops to Nigeria. Guns are blazing, according to him, to wipe out Islamist terrorists who are carrying out a mass slaughter of Christians there. But Nigeria says no such thing exists, that the targeted killings affect both Christians and Muslims, that terrorism is the real issue here, and the U.S. has been a partner in dealing with that. They say it's also a struggle for resources between herders and farmers, and they say there is no genocide of Christians in Nigeria. President Trump's own advisor, a Lebanese-American businessman who made his fortune in Nigeria, addressed this and said it does not target Christians specifically.
People of all religions and all tribes are dying as a result of terrorist acts, but it's very unfortunate. We even know that Boko Haram and ISIS are killing more Muslims than Christians. So people are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds.
Well, maybe what the true recipient, the intended recipient, is Al-Qaeda, who, with a sub-Saharan African country, may actually take it over and run it, which would be the first country they've actually controlled. And it's not Arabian, it's not in the Middle East, it's in Africa. That might be a message to Al-Qaeda.
Right.
Now, I suspect it is because there has been some concern about their gains in sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, it says here.
Yeah, Al-Qaeda is supposedly responsible for 9/11, Osama bin Laden, and the dust-up in Afghanistan and Iraq that has been going on intermittently since 2001.
It says organizations like Open Doors and some U.S. lawmakers state that more Christians are killed in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. One U.S. congressman claimed over 7,000 Christians were killed in the first 7 months of 2025 alone, a figure that is disputed by some analysts. Yeah, honestly, people could throw out any numbers. However, the people in Nigerian political officials, they could be lying as well, but there are killings. Boko Haram has been kidnapping and killing Muslims and Christians since the Obama's second term. Nothing hasn't changed. So again, like you said, there is another underlying reason why Trump is saying we're going to go in that has nothing to do with saving the Christians. That's just somewhat of an excuse to go in and do whatever plan he wants to do. Because I'm like, okay, what about the Christians in China?
Well,
what about?
Yeah.
So, and it's like, why are you only focused on Christians? You know, we have Muslims who support Trump in this country. So what about Muslims that are being prosecuted in China and in other countries such as India? So, yeah.
Well, let me say this.
Come on.
I have a connection with Nigeria. I told you about it, but I won't go into it. But let me just say this, that it's also a Yoruba connection. And for most of my early life, I heard how bad the Igbo were and deserving of being put in their place. So the Igbo are nominally Christian. The Yoruba are nominally Christian, and both have forgotten about Dembala, Okotie, and Agunbi. So there is a great deal of animosity that's going on over there, Christian, on Muslim, on Christian, etc., etc. So it's really a shame, but Al-Qaeda, which is Muslim, but that's not saying that Muslims are evil, no more than saying that most Germans would probably be Christian in World War II when the Nazis were driving Deutschland into doing what it was doing to take over Europe and establishing the Third Reich. So, yeah. But see, that's the irresponsibility of the current press that does not break down these complicated situations. They just throw out labels that generate consumer attention, which helps them commercially since they have products to sell, space to rent out or sell in newspapers for advertisement, or when you have things like Fox or CNN, commercial advertisers who want that time to spread their commercial word. You get 30 minutes of a show, you get, interestingly enough, you get 16 minutes of commercial and 14 of content. So they're trying to make it worthwhile for that 16 out of 30 minutes that is spent on content to be gladly paid out by the advertisers because they're getting people to tune in. And Trump's smart enough to work it because he's been out there. He did The Apprentice. He knows how Hollywood works, and it brings attention. And for his fan base, so to speak, it sounds good. It's a message to Al Qaeda, and I think it'll be received. And I think there'll be some differences in how things go. But Nigeria is entirely too big at this point and powerful to just storm in.
So I want to go to the
And by
government
the way,
shutdown.
one other thing. It does not sound dissimilar to what was going on with what the United States was saying about Egypt before Egypt and Israel signed a peace treaty in 1976. So perhaps those same factors are in place, and now we have military bases in Egypt and a good ally in Israel, and Israel, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia pretty much cooperate together as a surrogate base for the United States. So that might be what's going on with Nigeria in a way to undercut what we were talking about BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and et cetera, and also Nigeria. Egypt in 1976 was firmly in the Soviet sphere of influence. Now it's not in Russia's, it's in the US sphere of influence. And that may be what Trump is trying to do, is threaten a bit, promise a bit, have behind the scenes negotiations a bit, and get Nigeria more firmly in league with the United States.
Okay.
By the way, it
All right.
wasn't helped out
I
by
mean,
the
that's necessary.
Biden-Harris administration and the Biden administration by their push for the rainbow, which is an anathema over there. And most of these places say one of the main hangups they have with the United States is this push for the rainbow, which is not reflective of the Trump administration, but things need to be worked out.
All right. So I want to go to the government shutdown. Tomorrow will mark this to be the longest government shutdown in government shutdown history. And it looks like there's no end in sight. It may end up going to the end of this week, maybe close to Thanksgiving. Hopefully it does not go past Thanksgiving. However, a federal judge last week told the Trump administration, no, you are going to release those SNAP emergency funds. You cannot withhold these SNAP emergency funds because that's what it's there for. So release the SNAP and fund SNAP. And that came down last week. And so Donald Trump administration said today that they're going to release partial SNAP benefits,
Well,
right?
that's not really the correct statement of the issue. There are no appropriated SNAP funds. There are some discretionary funds that this judge decided to interject himself into government policy behind and say, you have available discretionary funds, which if you choose, you could divert to SNAP. However, they may be there for some other emergency besides SNAP. The Democratic Party is responsible for SNAP being so widespread because they've set up the conditions that have generated a need for SNAP. Now, that said, at some point, we're going to have to get rationality in here. The Republican Party cannot endorse paying $5,000 a month for a family of 4 illegals who shouldn't even be in the country. They cannot endorse full medical coverage for illegals who shouldn't be in the country when so many American citizens and legal residents are financially unable to acquire reasonable and necessary medical care, let alone $5,000 per family of 4 per month. So we look at this absurd representation of affairs by the Democratic Party and mainstream media that wants to say it's a government impasse. It is not. It is a Democratic effort to extort getting their sick proposals in place so that they can benefit criminality. You are not supposed to deal with making crime pay, but it is criminal to crash the borders. It is criminal to be here illegally, and they're trying to make crime pay for large bodies, several million criminals that contain a high percentage of foreign agents, saboteurs, anarchists, terrorists, murderers, thieves, drug dealers, sexual offenders, and people infected with untreatable, uncurable diseases that expose the American public to great danger. And then you have clowns like the idiot running for New York mayor and others, Newsom in California, Bass in Los Angeles, and even the idiots here in Memphis who are talking about sanctuary cities, which is against the law. Again, I repeat it, Title 8, Section 1324 makes that illegal. So the idea of governors, mayors, police chiefs, sheriffs, congressmen, either senators or representatives pushing for an illegality is just absolutely absurd.
Well, you know what else is absurd is to sit up here and, to a certain degree, it's absurd to sit up here and have a great Gatsby Halloween dinner at Mar-a-Lago, and half of that money, the taxpayers, we fund the Trump's traveling expenses to Mar-a-Lago, and in that room was nothing but wealthy people, while a lot of American citizens are worried about, are they going to have SNAP benefits to feed their family, to feed their children or their elderly parents. So
well, why the hell did they vote for the Democrats to put them in that situation?
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Now, the optics looked bad. And, yes, it was Halloween, this theme thing or whatever. But this is the longest running government shutdown. Yes, you are towing the line because illegals should not get food stamps. They should not get free healthcare and food stamps such as that.
Or apartment
However,
rental money or spending money.
yes, all that. So here's the thing, though. The optics of this Great Gatsby Halloween party, it shows the what do you call it? Maria Antoinette let them eat cake.
Does it?
Type of.
He's not paying
Yes,
for that. The secrets.
we
No,
are.
we're not. I mean, he is paying for that. We're not paying for it. He
No, we
doesn't
for
cash
the
his
secret service.
paychecks. He's working for free. He's not being paid
But
for being president.
he paid for his
The
transportation.
transportation in the scheme of things is less than most presidents over the last 100 years. So he hasn't traveled as much as most of them. So his expense
But
on that
whether
is
they're paying
less.
for it or not, that's not the case. You're the president. I get it. And
So what's he
listen,
supposed to do? He can't do anything
no,
about it. He has a cell phone. He has instant communication that no longer has roaming charges for his situation. I don't have them because I pay for the unlimited plans. He has them. There is no longer any impediment to him communicating what he needs to communicate from Malargo or from DC, from the White House, from the West Wing, or
it's
anything.
not that. It's
No,
not
the
that.
point
It's not that.
is he
It's not
doesn't
about if
have
he's
a
capable
role
of
in
doing his
this.
job.
He doesn't. Article 1 of the Constitution says matter of finance, taxation, apportionment of monies, expenditures of monies, those are in the exclusive domain of Congress, the House and the
All right,
Senate. He doesn't have anything to do
let
with
me
it.
all right, so let me read this because he doesn't have anything to do with it. You're right. That's Congress. However, he does influence his party that is in
Exactly.
Congress. Now I want to go back. Let me finish what I'm saying because you just agreed with me. The federal judge in Rhode Island followed up with his Friday oral ruling with a written order Saturday requiring President Donald Trump's Agriculture Department to make full food stamps payment no later than the end of Monday, or alternatively, partial payments by the end of the day Wednesday. Chief Judge John McConnell Jr., U.S. District Court of District of Rhode Island, was responding to the administration request for a written order, as well as Trump's Friday night social media post asking the court for clarity as to how USDA could legally make these SNAP payments. I do not want Americans to go hungry, Trump wrote on Truth Social after McConnell's earlier ruling from the bench on Friday afternoon. I asked the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it would be my honor to provide funding. Okay, and that's great. And so the judge says the court greatly appreciates the president's quick and definitive response to this court's order and his desire to provide the necessary SNAP funding. And that's great. However, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, in the beginning of last week, right, when everyone was talking about SNAP benefits being cut, he said, we are not going to tap into the SNAP emergency funds. We're not. But he shouldn't have even said that because that, sir, is cruel.
Well, then let's put it this way.
It took. Let me just land here. It took a federal judge to tell the House Speaker to release the emergency funds.
Well, you know what?
And then wait a minute, I'm about to land. And then Trump does his great Gatsby party or whatever. So that's when I say about the optics. The House Speaker should have said, okay, we're going to do partial of the emergency funding.
Okay, look, this whole thing got set in place as a response to the Great Depression. There was no federal insurance on deposits in federally insured banks. There was no adequate regulation. People were suffering. The whole country, the whole world was impoverished because of a financial disaster that was to a great extent generated by dependency upon the gold standard. And we have people trying to reimpose that again or reestablish that again. And it was a disaster. Right now, we do not have a situation even remotely comparable to the Great Depression. But yet, we have more and more people who have been induced to be dependent upon government handouts. There is no requirement in this whole scheme where people have to be prepared to secure work when it is available. There's nothing that requires that they, in the interim, if there's no work available, to indulge in education or trade development or vocational skill development so that they become employable. They're just sitting there and they've got people who for 4 or 5 family generations have been receiving it, which is not what it was intended to be about. Now, we have to do something about that. And this is a good time. This is an excellent time to reform the whole system to require that people work if they can. And if they don't have anything else to do, there are fire breaks in the woods to be prepared. There are roads to be cleaned up. There is debris in cities to be picked up. And all of these people are at home idle, and they could be put to work to do this. During the aftermath and the recovery from the Great Depression, we had Works Progress Administration where people built roads in the wilderness. They did clean up. They did things that needed to be done to build and maintain infrastructure. We could be doing that right now, but I resent paying for anybody that could be employed. I worked hard in my life, and I understand the needs of charity, but I don't deal with charitable contributions in my mind as being justified when you've got families with several generations who've never finished school, never worked in a job situation in their entire lives. And I don't think that's appropriate.
You're painting the first of all, I disagree with you. You're painting the face of a SNAP benefiter as being a 5th generation single parent with a whole bunch of kids.
I am.
And let me finish. And that's where you're wrong, because majority 90% of people who get snaps work.
No, that's good.
That's a fact.
But then what happens is they should have been encouraged to go further in school.
Let me finish. You gotta let me talk, because you are only talking about maybe 5 or 10% at best of those type of people who you're describing. 90% of the people who receive SNAP benefits work. People don't understand, and I'm going to play this clip
before
here. That
you
you're
go
going
anywhere, let's stop. All of these people that say just sit it out on the couch rather than going to vote. All of these people that responded to these insane commercials, take your booties to the poll. All of these people that just loyally vote Democrat. That's how they got in a position to need SNAP, because the American job market is the pits, because too many jobs have been exported overseas. Too much American industry has been displaced overseas under the Democratic Party's administrations over the last 50 years. We have given away our fortune, our means of being secure in economic prosperity. We have given it away. So somewhere along the lines, if that's how you vote or how you don't vote, by staying at home and sitting on the couch, vote couch, then you are responsible for the consequences, and they should suffer until they understand there's a different way and stop voting for this insanity because somebody tells you you should vote for us because we will keep you dependent and entitled and getting SNAP. Well, it's good as a safety net, but it is extended to the point where it is a manifest necessity because people have been conditioned to expect it. Where there is insufficient industry and an insufficient job market out there. That is what the problem is. And now you have people who are saying we don't have enough jobs for you to have a good paying job where you don't need to collect food stamps, even though you may work 40 hours a week. And yet we're trying to bring in illegals here to make the situation worse.
All right, so I'm going to play this clip
and
here.
you're being deprived, by the way, so we can immediately take care of our friends, the illegals, while you suffer and your snaps cut off, but we're paying for them. No, that's not the way it works. You need to rebel, and you need to stop being blue little creatures who want to wag their tails when they get some handout of kibbles and bits. You need a steak on your plate. You can earn it if you put people in office who will make sure that happens rather than people that want you dependent.
Listen, it doesn't matter who's in office.
Oh, it does matter.
people, no, it matters to the point to where, okay, illegals won't get something, but the whole purpose of SNAP are for American citizens. And no matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, the American citizens still
Well,
need
let's put
SNAP.
it this way: SNAP.
Whether they're working, whether they're, listen, let me know. I gotta play
I
this
don't
clip, but
want
I
that
want to say
damn
this.
clip. It's more goddamn mainstream
I don't care. I
propaganda.
don't
Now
care if
listen,
you don't. I don't.
listen. We
No,
wouldn't
no,
have this breakdown in government
Judge, I
expenditures
need
if
you
the
to stop.
Democrats weren't holding out to
Stop.
pay these people
I'm not
$5,000 a
talking
month for
about that,
family
and I'm
of
not
4
disagreeing.
or
Listen,
health
Judge,
care.
I need you to slow down, and I need you to stop because I have to play this clip of a woman talking about her situation on
Go
SNAP.
ahead.
Thank you. It's 5 minutes, so just mute
I
up.
don't feel like listening to this repetitive story for 5
Just go
minutes,
get a
but I'll
job.
listen.
Okay, hear me out. I'm a respiratory therapist, okay? I take travel contracts for work right now, and I do that because it's twice the money, okay? The economy requires me to leave my home for work because if I take a regular staff position, I'll make anywhere from $31 to $35 an hour. Prime example, for 3 months out of this year, I did home care. I made $32 an hour. I worked 40 hours a week, at least 40 hours a week, okay? My biweekly take home after taxes, retirement, and health insurance for me and my 3-year-old daughter, my biweekly take home was right around $1,600. Okay, multiply that by 2, gets you through a month, $3,200 a month take home, right? Sounds like good money, doesn't it? Should be good money, $32 an hour, right? $3,200 a month to live on. Anybody should be able to live on that, right? Right, that's what I thought too. Okay, so my rent was $1,400 a month. Now, mind you, that's decent. That is below the national average, okay? Rent, $1,400 a month. Gas and electric, they'd wax and wane. You know, electric's higher in the summer, gas is higher in the winter, but between the two of them, they averaged around $300 for the two of them. Okay, so we're at $1,700 a month. Full-time, Monday through Friday, childcare for my 3-year-old, $1,100 a month. I'm now at $2,800 of my $32. I have $400 left to put gas in my car, groceries on the table, toiletries, you know, shampoo, conditioner, toilet paper, laundry detergent, any copays if we decide to go to the doctor's office. Fuck a car payment. You might as well drive a paid off car. Mind you, I don't. I have a car payment. Okay? Car insurance. All of that is supposed to be covered by $400 a month. If I sat down with somebody, I'm from Michigan, if I sat down with somebody from Michigan Works and they put together my expenses and they put together what I make, I would qualify for SNAP benefits. And I would need them in order to keep me and my daughter afloat with me working full time, making $32 an hour. What is not clicking, guys? Oh, get a job. Oh, the few bad ones are ruining it for all the good. I don't care how many people are abusing the system. You cannot shut the whole system down and just say, oh, well, sorry. 2 Joe Schmoes from bumfuck nowhere don't want to get a job. So since we decided they qualify and they've been abusing the system, like, revamp the qualification system then. Revamp the system if you have to. We're the ones approving these people who are abusing the system. Change the qualification criteria. Change the criteria for being able to stay on it. Change the reevaluation period for how much you get and how often you're reevaluated. I don't care what you have to do. You can't shut it off. You can't stop it. And I'm sorry, but you seriously mean to tell me that this program, this SNAP benefit program, okay, funded by taxpayer dollars, okay, is out of money. But we have enough money to remodel the White House and to fund foreign war. We can't feed the mouths on our soil, but we can supply foreign aid through millions of dollars worth of arsenal and just straight up money. Make this make sense. Not to mention, those of you that are like, yeah, kick them off it. It's not going to affect me, da-da-da-da. Are you not even a little bit curious where the portion of your paycheck that was supposed to help pay for those benefits is going instead? Like, give me that money back so I can support the families in my area. I am from a densely SNAP benefit using area. Okay, I come from a not very high on the bar area. Give me my money back. If you're not going to fund programs to feed the mouths around me, give me my money back and I will feed them. The other argument, too, that this isn't going to affect you, SNAP benefits is directly putting taxpayer dollars back into the economy. So if those taxpayer dollars aren't getting put back into the economy is going to fucking tank. Your milk that's $3 at the grocery store is about to be $5 at the grocery store because the millions of Americans that were using SNAP benefits to purchase groceries aren't going to be able to do that anymore. Therefore, the price of groceries is going to go through the fucking roof. And then who's going to get fucked? The middle-class American. The middle-class American that, just barely didn't qualify for SNAP benefits, that's already barely getting by. What's not clocking? Why are you too dense to understand this? The other thing, too, is, you guys want to blame the parents. Well, I feel bad that the kids are going to go hungry, but their parents should get a job. Or maybe that mom shouldn't have 4 kids with 3 different baby daddies. Blah, 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 blah. That is I can't even stress this enough. No woman lays down with a man going, yeah, well, I'm going to have this baby, but I know he's going to financially abandon me someday. I'm not a single mom because I knew when I laid down with my ex-husband that he was not going to financially support me someday. And no, I don't get child support or spousal support. I was the breadwinner there. That's not the point. Some of these single mothers or single fathers can't even find a job that will work with their kids' school schedules and or won't fire them when they have to call in 3 times in a school year because of school days or because a kid's sick. Or that will pay them enough to cover childcare if they're not of school age, and then also enough on top of that to help pay rent and the bills. Like, at that point, you understand the amount of women who are leaving their careers, me included, when LJ and I have more kids, because I will not make enough money to make up for how much childcare costs. Is that not insane? And you guys want to get out here and tell single moms, get a fucking job. Or another thing, food for thought. Some of you, not all of you, but some of you men that are bitching about single moms being on SNAP benefits are the same type of men 10, 20 years from now that will financially abandon your wife. And she's got 4 kids and been a stay-at-home mom for the last 18 years. Then what the fuck is she supposed to do? And then you want to bitch when she needs more than $1,000 a month in child support to support your 4 kids that you only see on the weekend. That you only see when you don't have to pay for childcare. Y'all, I can't. In conclusion, either turn the fucking SNAP benefits back on or give me my taxes back. If you're not gonna at least feed the kids, feed the hungry, and reinvest my taxpayer dollars back into our own economy, if all you're gonna do with it is remodel the fucking White House and support foreign war, give it back. So just wanted to end this by saying more of you need to be more outraged. You think it doesn't affect you? You think you're going to mind your P's and Q's and stay in your own little bubble? It's going to affect you. It's going to.
So I wanted to
My
play that clip
reaction
there
to
because
that, I pay a lot more taxes, I'm
well,
sure.
before you
than
give your
no.
reaction, I want to give
Oh,
my
go ahead.
reaction. Thank
Go ahead.
you. So what I want to say to that is I agree with everything she said. And a lot of people are forgetting, the people that want to so-called shame people who get SNAP, which are food stamps, which are people who actually work, that yes, they're actually paying for their own food stamps because it's taxpayers' dollars. And then 2, corporations are pissed off because that's 20% minimum of a profit that they're losing. I'm talking about the Walmarts, I'm talking about the Whole Foods, I'm talking about your grocery chain stores. So corporate heads are knocking on Congress door as well. So a lot of people, listen, illegals should not get shit. But the fact is that, are you willing to have the Americans starve? Because that's the majority. So something has to give. And going back to the Great Gatsby, party, that's my perspective, my opinion of bad optics at the wrong time, but it is what it is. But I agree with what she was saying. Go ahead.
Well, let's put it this way. I pay a lot more in taxes than she does. I understand her position, and mine is I don't feel like paying a damn dime. I think she should have screwed wisely and picked somebody better for her husband. She made a mistake. There are consequences to making mistakes. That's part of what's set up right
That's
now.
a very
Yeah, and
ignorant
that's not
answer.
ignorant. I pay too
Very
goddamn
ignorant.
much in taxes.
Very ignorant.
No,
That's very ignorant.
when you pay the
Yeah,
when you have to
it
sign
is.
the checks
It
that
is.
I have to sign to pay the
That
taxes
no,
I
because
pay,
you don't know
I
who.
don't know.
See, no,
Excuse me.
you're being very
Hold
specific. You're
on,
not
hold
even
on, hold
generalizing.
on,
When
hold
you
on.
can
Hold
generalize
on.
something
I
like that,
don't care.
you
I
don't know
don't want to
everybody's
look.
situation.
I understand the charitable needs. I understand the needs for a safety net. Okay, but I pay a lot in taxes. And since she's talking about giving taxes back because she doesn't like it spent for international relations, diplomacy, restoring the White House, well, I pay a lot more than she does in taxes, and that I approve of. But
Well, because you
if
make
I no,
more,
I
but
know
the
I make more.
percentage, but
I
people
know I
who make
make
a lot
more.
of money, your
I
percentage
know I
is still
make more.
less.
But
But
the point is,
if listen, a lot of middle class people pay a higher
I got
percentage.
you. But the point is that I pay a lot in taxes, and I resent some of the things that extreme amount of money gets paid on to take care of. So I have a tolerance that I have built up to my money that I earned, worked hard to get. And a lot of it's being taken in taxes and given to people who some other folk I did not vote for, cannot stand, know personally, and think are full of shit, have decided to say, well, we put them there, so we are going to sit there and take care of them because it's in our political advantage to do so. I see the big picture. And the question becomes is when is somebody going to suffer enough pain to take this into consideration and do something about it? So somewhere in here, it's just like, okay, I'd like for it to be painless, but since you don't act like you've got good sense, then okay, make it hurt a little bit so you will think next time you vote about
No,
who set it
the
up.
Mickey with that bullshit. First of all, no one, you or anybody, has the right to be some moral judgment.
I
You're
am.
not
What the hell
God. You're
you
not
think I
Jesus
do?
Christ. No, you're
What
not
you
God.
think? No, I
And
look.
you're not
Excuse
Jesus.
me.
And you're not a prophet.
I could have
So who are
look.
you
Look.
to
I
run around
pay
here
taxes.
judging
I
someone?
pay
Listen, if
taxes.
you're not going to judge, let me tell you this: if you're not going to sit up here and judge a politician, especially the ones who you vote for, don't sit up here and judge a
I
citizen that
judge
is
the
working
people I
and
vote
paying
for. That's
taxes.
why I
You have
do
no
this.
right to
You
judge
say
anyone.
you're tired
Judge
at
the
night. I never
illegal.
get tired.
Don't judge
Excuse
an
me. I
American
never get
citizen.
tired at
Judge
night. I
illegal.
never
If you
get
want to judge
tired at night
someone,
when it comes
judge
to
these dirty
governance. I
politicians.
never get
So
tired
miss
when,
me with all
excuse
that.
me, I never get tired when it comes to governance. I stay up
And hold
late.
on,
I
let
study
me
late.
highlight this right
I
here.
do this. Now,
No,
hold on.
hold
I
on for a
don't
second.
get paid
No,
for this.
I need that. Let me say this real quick, because Joyce, and anybody else that want to have these simple-minded, ignorant comments, oh, she shouldn't have married the wrong man. Let me tell you something about men and women. You don't know who the hell you
Well,
married. It
check
takes you
first before you
forever.
do.
Hold on. No. Stop, Judge, because let me talk. What are you checking? You going to check in their brain to see if they're going to do something, trifling to not take care of their kids? You don't know. Just like a man don't know if you marry some crazy woman who's going to cheat on you or take your money without you even knowing. So the fact is that a lot of times you don't know until the situation arises, because people do say, I'm going to do it, and they do behave one way when they're married. But when you get a divorce, when you break up, then you see a whole nother person. How about, instead of people running around here, men and women, trying to shame a woman because a man fuck ups, how about we start making laws like the state of Georgia? As soon as that pregnancy stick turns blue or positive, your ass pay child
If you're
support
the
off the rip.
daddy. If you're the
I'm not
daddy.
finished.
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
not
but you're finished
finished.
as far as I'm
No,
concerned, because I don't.
I'm not finished. The state of Florida makes you start paying child support. One. Number two, you have to put her on your health insurance. So the fact is that you prove, if you're the father, once that kid is born, or if you want to do that special test to draw a needle of blood from the and from the birth sac or whatever the case may be. But other than that, how about we start getting those type of laws on the books, holding the men responsible for their fuck ups?
Let's put it
Stop
this way.
pointing the finger at
There
a
are a whole
woman.
lot of cases where men have been paying a lot and turn out not to be the daddy.
Good, keep
But no,
paying.
they don't need to
Keep
if they're
paying.
not the father. Now, bottom line
No,
is
but
if
you
you're
need
the
to if you
father,
are. We're
then if you're
talking
the
about the
father,
fathers, Judge. We're not talking about men who are not fathers. We're talking
well,
about the
then prove
fathers.
it. A lot of times these guys aren't.
That's fine. A woman could
And
prove
the
it. But
other
the fact
thing
is that
too is
he proves it, you
the other
pay.
thing is too, there is this thing in law called intentionality that I think is a horrible construct. They have set up that if a woman just wants to be a mother and doesn't want to be bothered, and she goes to a fertility clinic and she discovers who the sperm donor is, they tried to go sue the sperm donor. The courts have said that there is no intentionality by the father to be a father of that particular child, so he is immune from child support if all he did was donate sperm. Well, there are other situations where instead of going to the clinic and paying the money, they just go get the sperm donated directly. There needs to be some accountability and some consequence for indiscriminately going out and screwing. Now, that's a fact that used to be a
Okay,
reality
so
some
yeah,
years ago, but now
so
seems
what
to be
but
nobody
but here's the
cares.
thing. The consequence should not just fall on one person, it needs to fall
Well,
on both
yes, I
parties.
understand. And men need to pay their appropriate child support. Now, uh, I
So
have no
I got another
contention
thing
with that.
that
When
has
I
to do with
was a
the
judge,
shutdown.
I made the people that I put on probation who had children pay reasonable child support as a condition of their probation. I don't go into you have no responsibility, but somewhere along the line, somebody needs to do something to not facilitate these situations developing in the first place, but to discourage them from happening, to set up social circumstances, to start educating people on the realities, to to stop socializing and acculturating them to think that they're breeding animals on a ranch someplace where their job is to get knocked up casually. That's not good. You need to start doing something in the educational system. You need to start doing something with making a viable paycheck a reality. You need to do something so that the American public does not get stiffed with enormous expenses that have nothing to do with the realities of running a good economy. There are very great needs, but we have not been voting for that. We have been voting for foolishness. And as I've said many times, Americans get the representation they deserve. And if your representation isn't shit, you didn't vote for shit. And you got what you
Well, let me just say
deserved.
one more. Let me say one more thing before I play this clip, because I want to stay a little bit more on the government shutdown. Um, you know, you shouldn't have to have a federal judge tell you to
Well, let
release
me put it
emergency
this way,
funds.
too. There's several.
Stop
Hold on, one
cutting
little
me
interjection.
off. No, you should not have a federal judge tell you to release the emergency funds, especially when you are the party that made sure to make abortion illegal. So if you want women to have more babies and not kill their fetus or abort their fetus, then you need to make sure that women have the support that they need. SNAP, daycare, housing, and that man is participating financially in that child's life because you're the party that made abortion
How about
illegal.
this? You make a heroine of somebody like Nikki Giovanni, the late Nikki Giovanni, who 50, 60 years ago was going all over this country telling young women that they did not need to get married, just get knocked up and don't even tell the bastard because the worst thing you can do is to have a man involved in a child's life. How about why do we push that kind of nonsense on the American public and act like it's okay and there are not going to be consequences to it? How about if we don't do something about, once again, having some decency in what we put out for the kids to look at on television, in the motion pictures, and listen to as popular music that glorifies this dysfunction? How about if we start making some sensible ideas about what we support and at least start talking about it's not good? See, there are consequences to what you do. But what we have had for 50 years is an ever escalating campaign to get people to accept the proposition that you should never suffer consequences for your actions. You'll always be taken care of.
Yes, and then also, how about you start teaching men to keep
Man,
their dick in?
look, unless the guy's into,
Keep,
excuse
keep
me,
your dick in your pants.
unless the guy,
Keep
excuse
your
me,
zipper zipped up.
excuse me,
No, excuse you.
me,
Keep your zipper
excuse
zipped
me,
up.
there is,
No, excuse
excuse
you.
me,
You
there
excuse.
is
You excuse.
always a drive that is inherent in what nature has set up. Now,
Yeah, exactly. I ain't talking about that shit. I'm about to get to this next clip because I gotta wind down this show. So let's move on.
unless he's into rape,
I'm not about to sit up here. You're not about to sit up here and give an excuse for a man who has no goddamn dick control. Get the hell out of here with that shit.
That's
not
crap
happening.
about toxic
All right,
masculinity. What happens with the next generation without rape is what you get into. It's a 50-50 proposition. So both sides have blame to have. It is nothing good about having children out of wedlock, but somehow boys are being made proud of that, which is foolish. No, it ain't that.
Why are you walking around
it
here?
ain't that.
Why are you running around
It
here?
ain't.
Why are you running around here putting your dick in women without a condom on? Why are you running around here skeeting up in the bitch? You have no self-control. You're supposed to be a man. Real men have self-control over their body.
Why don't the girls just keep their legs closed?
No, why don't you
Why don't
stop
they
begging
keep their legs
and lying?
closed?
Keep your
Why don't
pants
they
zipped
keep their
up.
legs
Keep
closed?
your
Don't
dick-
try to
keep
put it
your
all
legs
on
closed.
men. Don't
We're
try
not putting it
to,
on
no.
you. Well, you the one that keeps talking about women. Now, if women need to have discipline in keeping her legs closed, you need to have discipline of keeping your legs closed.
But men are not, excuse me, they're not monks.
Neither are women.
No, they're not. But you suffer the
Women are not
consequences, so
nuns.
keep your legs closed.
Women are not
Make
nuns.
the guy earn it.
No, and that's the problem. Because you know what? You know what your consequence is? Your consequence is you're going to pay. Pay the child support. Pay the health insurance. Pay. And if you can't pay, then the government needs to force you to pay or put you in prison, because you should not be allowed to produce babies if you cannot take care of it, because that means you're not a man. You're not a real one. You're just a male.
Everybody is at fault.
Now I want to go.
Everyone
We
is
gotta
at
go on to
fault,
this next
and you
clip.
need to make that a mutual thing. No one gender is at fault. Both of them. So quit acting like it's one side's fault or the other. Both sides take blame. And that's what you have to do.
So, I want to get to this next clip about the government shutdown. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene on Bill Maher show, and she made a very good point, because now not forget about SNAP, but the other problem is healthcare.
I would love to know what the Republicans really want to do about health care, which is the premiums are going to go up tomorrow.
Me too. I'm waiting for the plan. I haven't seen it yet. That's been a lot of my angst. So a lot of the things I say are against my own party, but they're mainly my frustrations in Congress. I believe that Congress should be solving a lot of these problems. However, Congress is not solving these problems. And I have Republican leadership. You know, looking at Obamacare, it was passed in 2010. It went into place in 2014, and premiums have skyrocketed ever since. It was good for some. that couldn't afford health insurance or couldn't get health insurance. But for the middle class, small business owners, people that had to buy their own insurance, it has crushed them. And so I've been demanding
Obamacare has crushed them? Obamacare is what's hurt them?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, for example, when Obamacare went into place, it took my own family of 5 health insurance policy from $800 a month to over $2,400 a month, more than our mortgage payment. And that's what so many people have experienced over all these years. But here's the big problem, is it's about to skyrocket in January of 2025. Here's why I'm angry. The Democrats passed Obamacare, but yet the Republicans have never done anything to correct the problems that exist with it. And I blame my own party. That's absolutely wrong. And I don't think it's an easy thing to fix. However, it's something that we should have a plan for. And Mike Johnson, for a month now, cannot give me a single policy idea. And I'm angry about that.
Is this your understanding of Obamacare, that it raises?
I have to first start by saying I didn't suspect that I would come on and say I agree with Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I heard that. Obamacare is a ripoff. If you read the whole thing, you'll see how badly we get ripped off by it. And he didn't even come up with it. The person whose family founded Blue Cross, Blue Shield, etc., he drafted it. He's from Tennessee, Dr. Bill Frist. He told me to my face in a conversation I had with him at the Crescent Club here in Memphis, he never voted in his entire life until he got 35 years old, and he registered to vote so he could run for U.S. Senator. He further told me he's never voted for anybody since he became U.S. Senator except himself in either the primary or the main election. As soon as he drafted up affordable health care, which he tried to get passed in 2003 but could not, and finally got passed in 2010 when Obama's Indonesian Trust Fund invested in Blue Cross, Blue Shield, etc., and got some of the gravy that they could sop up. Then it got passed, and it was known as Obamacare because he pushed it. As soon as that got in place, he resigned or retired from the U.S. Senate. Now, next thing, personally, 3 years ago with a group insurance plan, I paid $1,650 a year plus some copay on stuff for another $3,000 or $4,000. Right now with Medicare, goddammit, I pay $14,000 some odd dollars a year, or at least that's what I paid last year on Medicare. $14,000, not $1,400, not $1,600 like on a group plan, but $14,000 for Medicare. That is a damn ripoff. And when you read it and you see what everybody gets out of it, it is even worse. Now, that is where we're going, and there is no damn earthly reason for that. None.
Right.
So it is a damn shame that the government is being held hostage so that illegals will get unlimited free medical care, and I have to pay as an American citizen, paid in a lot of tax dollars, much more than I'll ever get back by any damn benefit. I'm paying $14,000 some odd dollars a month, getting as old as I am, going into my 8th decade. That is a disgrace. And also to hold the American public hostage so you can get up to $5,000 a month in benefits for an illegal family of 4. That is just absolutely obscene, and I know what it was for. These selfish bastards who are jackasses in blue, they were trying to stuff the voting rolls in California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, so they could control things for their sick rainbow agendas. They were further trying to, if they couldn't do that, at least get these people counted like they did in the last census, which since I filled out 6 of them as an adult is the first and only one where I was not asked, was I a citizen, so they could have them counted. get a bigger number, how larger numbers of people in Congress or the House of Representatives for California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, without these people even being able to vote. There was another scam. You let in all these people across the southern border, and if Hyena Harris had been elected under American law, she could have declared a retroactive grant of asylum status to certain individuals who had crossed over illegally, effective January 2020. And the interesting thing is when you're in that status, you don't have to take courses, you don't have to pass tests. You will automatically become a citizen eligible to vote in 5 years. And that would have been from January 2020, and they'd be eligible right now to vote in the midterms. So that was a scam for 3 separate reasons, all leading to the Democratic Party being able to control the agenda of the United States to impose the rainbow theology on everybody and their sick panoply of social programs, and further bleeding of the country's industrial capacity and the jobs that workers are losing by getting taken abroad. See, that selfishness is what put us in this position. That stupid 50 years of glorifying dysfunction so that the family becomes obsolete, so that people become dependent and feel entitled to something that they are not earning or not working hard enough for, or making bad choices that aren't supposed to make any difference. That's where we're going with this. And that's where we have gotten, and it's time to turn it around. And yes, I hope it hurts people so they will think twice about what they do. So instead of sitting on the couch and voting the couch, instead of getting engaged in what's going on, they'll get off of their butts and find out what's happening. They won't wait until election day until some charlatan hands them a sample ballot that he's been paid to hand out and tells them this is the way to vote. They'll know already.
Well, you're kind of talking about a small percentage of people who said they were sitting on a couch, because there were way more Americans voted this past election. Now,
thankfully,
I think a lot of people are going to be sitting on a couch next year, and people don't understand the midterms are just as, if not more important than the presidency.
Yeah.
See, people sit on a couch from all walks of life during the midterms.
Oh, yeah.
Why? I don't know.
And since we're talking about that, you told me we were going to get into this California initiative number 50 that Newsom's sponsoring to change the districts in California, gerrymandering. This is part of this thing where the Democrats want to control the country so they can forcibly impose their dysfunction on everybody else, so they can spread this rainbow theology and this I can't do, I'm too helpless, I'm entitled attitude. It's not good. But as far as California goes, I grew up out there. I lived there for 15 years part-time. When I was doing that show, I saw it. They have referendums that pass, and often the referendums are defeated in court. For instance, Prop 8 in California that passed overwhelmingly the several times it was on the ballot, but was struck down by courts, federal and state, because the Californians, believe it or not, of all places, say the only legitimate marriage is between a man and a woman. That's California. But that referendum that was repeatedly successful was struck down as being unconstitutional because it deprived the homosexual crowd of their opportunity to enter into matrimony. Now, aside from that, there is a California state constitutional provision that requires that a nonpartisan objective commission set up the districts in California. And this is contrary to that constitutional provision in California law. It's not going to wash. But Newsom is trying to grandstand. Once again, what he is doing is trying to apply political pressure.
You're talking about Prop 50?
Prop 50, yes.
I do want to play a clip regarding
It's
Prop
crazy.
50. Yeah, because I was going to swing into that next. Proposition 50, and I wanted to share this clip here. How does this look? Go this way. All right.
If you're a California resident like me, you've probably been getting these. They're letters about Prop 50, Gavin Newsom's effort to get Democrats more congressional seats. The whole thing is being positioned as a measure to protect America from Trump. But who's going to protect California from Gavin Newsom? And why is protecting America from Trump going to cost Californians over $282 million of our money? Let me explain what this is actually about, because the mailers aren't exactly clear. Prop 50 would redistrict California's congressional lines to flip an estimated 5 to 6 seats from Republican to Democrat. Newsom says this is a defensive response because Trump just redistricted Texas to give Republicans more congressional seats. Supporters argue that Republicans have been gerrymandering swing states for years, and California needs to fight back. I get why Democrats are concerned, and here's my issue. I've lived in California for 11 years. Since Newsom entered office in 2019, we've seen homelessness skyrocket 24%. We've spent $37 billion on homelessness as the problem gets worse. That's $250,000 per homeless person. I've been threatened by homeless people twice. One of them was a death threat. Crime has spiked 15%. People can't afford to raise a family here because the median home price is $900,000. Entire neighborhoods just burned down while our fire hydrants ran dry. Our fire departments didn't have enough people to even fight the fires. California has gotten dirtier, more dangerous, more unaffordable, and less desirable since Gavin Newsom entered office in 2019. And now he's spending over $250 million on a special election over redistricting power games. So we couldn't afford enough people to fight the fires, but now we can afford $282 million to fight Trump. Now, look, you don't need to like the Republicans. You don't need to like Trump. And yes, both sides have been playing these redistricting games forever. The Democrats did it in Illinois in 2021. The Republicans did it in Florida in 2022. Principled people in both parties have proposed bills to ban this entirely, which is the real solution. But California's congressional representation is already 83% Democrat. Our governors are Democrat. Our mayors are Democrats. Our state legislature is run by Democrats. And look at what they've done with all that power. Look at your phone and you'll see Trump doing things you don't like. But look around you. Are you happy with what Democrats have done here? This is the United States of America. And what happens in our own state affects us more than what happens in our country. So I'll be transparent. I'm not voting to give the same leaders who have been failing this state even more power, not even temporarily. They say this is about defending democracy, but democracy starts where we live. And right now, California needs defending from its own leaders. If doing the same thing and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, what do you call giving failing leaders more power to fail? Feel free to make your own choice on Prop 50. And if you want more content that cuts through the noise and helps you think more clearly about what's happening, join my free newsletter. Link below.
All right. So what did you
I
think?
endorse it. And by the way, what I was talking about earlier is simply the national consequences of what's going on in California spread across from west to east, east to west, north to south, and south to north. It's why we have the problem with SNAP, why we have so many people in a position to need it, is this kind of thing that's going on in California. It's why we had the open southern border, to enhance what he's trying to do this way. They just want to put themselves in a position to deal with an agenda, a theology of sorts, a secular theology that is not good for the health of the republic. Now, I want to make some money for us. I want to indulge me. This is an appeal. To oppose what is going wrong with our republic, I'm asking that you support this venue of free speech. Dana needs some help to put this on. You need to support it with generous contributions to the cause of free speech, a cause that is truly your cause. We are witness to the erosion of constitutional norms and political stability in our republic, as well as the denegation of long-standing principles of personal and national character. Our society is rife with heightened violence and division. We have had forced upon us the necessity of putting troops on city streets in too many locations because of the breakdown of law and order and public safety. We have had assaults on dissent through the explicatives of the far left, censorship and repression of conservatives' perspectives by a no longer free press, academic repression of expression, learning, and corruption of science to support outlandish sexual deviancy and pedantic conditions of deviance from long established biological norms. This is what we've been faced with. The hard science and the learned analysis of the culture that has evolved in lockstep with our physiological evolution, our carefully researched understanding of biology, and our commitment to the empirical process of research and analysis, all of this has been supplanted by pop culture, faux science, to support the deviant fantasies and lusts of the far left and the left. A disregard for the rule of law and the imposition of so-called lawfare has infected our criminal justice system and severely transgressed upon our Bill of Rights and due process of law. We see the distortion of objective journalism into tabloid farces to justify the corruption of objective, rational, reasonable, analytical, and detached investigation of events and objective facts. The accompanying distortion of accuracy and context overwhelms truth and veracity with a careless disregard for the public accountability inherent in the spirit and letter of the First Amendment to the Constitution of our republic. The justification for this is inherent in a self-perspective that decrees that you are being done the favor of being saved from yourself, and that the phrase "by any means necessary" expresses a righteous justification for any methods and or means that might be of utility to the process. When this is the mindset of social, economic, political, cultural anarchists who have had unfettered control of the information to which the public is exposed, you have a problem. Our educational institutions have become insurgent cells that propagandize youth to rebel against the letter and spirit of our national constitution and the republic it establishes. We have allowed our methods of rearing and inculcating our youth with the ability to address the world in a functional and effective fashion to be replaced by a troublingly effective propaganda engine focused on inculcating them with a theology of decadence that fosters a negation of those aspects of humanity that drive most all of what we deem to be elements of good character. There are indeed things about our nation and our general population that might be said to need improvement. However, those things are the antithesis of the agenda that the current communications, news, and entertainment industries are so dedicated to fostering on humanity: duty, honor, obligation, accountability, and integrity, commitment to making our communities better, safer, more secure places, filled with economic prosperity, morality, ethics, and the maintenance of public peace. Dignity and order must remain paramount objectives. We must continually pursue the time immemorial goal of producing men and women of peace who can be brave and courageous when necessary. To oppose what is going wrong in our republic, as I opened with, we are asking that you support this venue of free speech, which are generous contributions to the cause of free speech. Again, a cause that is truly your own. Now, that is an advertisement. Time to ask folk to support this.
Right.
So this is a situation we face. It's a real live mess, and mainstream media has come up with a lot of tales that they sanctimoniously present to you as a reality and a truth. And those things are not based on fact. They're not based on reality. They're not based on dispassionate analysis. They are pushing an agenda, a secular theology upon this country by any means necessary, and they do not care if the country is destroyed or people suffer in the meantime.
So, two more things before we get up out of here. But I'm going to do this one first. You don't have a regular notebook to write on?
No, I don't. I usually use my cell phone.
Oh, let me play this. It's three more things. I want to play this Candace clip before I get into the CBS thing. All right, let me play this clip because I agree with her.
That pedophiles are in power. Yes. They are literally in power. And that is intentional because then they can be controlled while they are in power. And they are also exhibiting signs of a psychopathology that lets them know that they will do harm to the masses and feel nothing because they were themselves, many of them raped when they were children. Yep. It is not a coincidence that Justin Trudeau is gay. Obama, gay. Mm-hmm. Zelensky, gay. Emmanuel Macron, gay and married to a trans man who molested him when he was a child. And that despite the overwhelming evidence, for me, the litmus test now is like Brigitte Macron. I'm like, if you want to figure out who is a fraud in media, there's no way to read that 6-part series and go through it and come out of it being like, no, totally legit. Like these are just rumors. It's like one picture of yourself in your first 30 years of living, please. Yeah. And they
show me her brother.
Where's your brother?
Where is
John
he?
Michel.
I'll show you my brother. Yeah. Yeah. Where's your brother?
Yeah.
It's actually.
So she keeps going 10 toes down. Did you hear that? She keeps going 10 toes down, calling out these politicians. But she has a point, because when you are a victim as a child, right, or preyed upon, you in turn become the predator as an adult. And these are people in powerful positions.
Yeah. I've been telling you, that's what I meant when I made that statement appealing for support of somebody that will protect your First Amendment considerations. Too much of what's going on today is at base driven by a sick secular theology that is oriented toward achieving orgasmic satisfaction by any means necessary. There are some constraints that have to be put on it. And these people that run things are too deep into being practitioners, and there are consequences for the rest of us that will not be pleasant if we don't do something to stop it. Now, too many deviants have always been drawn to the halls of power.
Right.
That is a problem in that some people have more control than others. Some people have a decency about what they do, and it's got nothing to do with them engaging in this, that, and the other sexual practice. It is the intensity with which they allow it to dominate everything they do. And it also becomes a way of extorting somebody, of initiating somebody into a fraternal organization or a sorority and having them loyal to a cause. But this one is one which is contrary to what Mother Nature has developed in humanity, and it has consequences that will be paid. They will be paid. So right now, before the pain gets too great, before there is not just a government cutoff of benefits because the government is unfunded, we have a situation where there is a much harsher consequence. It's called extinction. And if these clowns were allowed to get their way, obviously that would lead to the detriment of humanity as a species. It does not work what they're talking about.
Right. So, okay, so two more things. Going back to the last two more things. We spoke about this earlier. The Mississippi corruption that's spilling over into Memphis. So I want to play this clip.
It's not spilling over into Memphis. Perhaps it's dripped from Memphis down there. The South, the channel of the Mississippi River has always been a hotbed of corruption, venality, all sorts of wrong, misappropriation of public funds. It goes back to when the Klan and the Night Riders were going around where everybody just looked the other way, where Mr. Bobby ran a county, provided all of the squad cars, the guns, the uniforms for the sheriff's departments and the police departments, ran everything. Nobody got a job without his permission, but he took in all the gravy. Nobody dared tax him. He did what he wanted, or they did what they wanted. And nowadays that you've got the Democratic Party running everything in Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, etc., you've got this thing where you have nominally those who were once on the bottom now saying they're at the top and it's their turn to get the gravy. That is ridiculous because it's their opportunity to do something they ought to be doing, which is to serve the people who elect them instead of just getting elected and getting the opportunity to rip the people off. It's like the worst kind of preachers who are not saving souls so much as they are just trying to pimp their congregations for their own personal benefit. These people are not trying to help us out by their representation and lead effectively and intelligently and wisely. They're trying to sucker us into putting them into office so they can rip our tax dollars off.
All right, I want to play this clip so people can understand what we're talking about.
Let this be a lesson for those sworn to serve the public that if you're a good law enforcement officer, the FBI will always stand with you. But for those corrupt individuals who abuse their office, we will come for you.
We're learning more about those indicted and what the FBI is calling a drug trafficking conspiracy. Hello, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. Greg Hurst is off tonight. The indictments include more than a dozen Mississippi law enforcement officers accused of taking bribes while helping criminals. WREG's Brian Didlake has been following the story and has the latest.
We're here today to talk about some incredibly serious allegations that mark it's just a monumental betrayal of public trust.
Clay Joyner announcing the indictment of 14 Mississippi law enforcement officers and 6 others. 2 of those indicted sitting sheriffs Milton Gaston of Washington County and Bruce Williams of Humphreys County, all defendants facing federal drug and gun charges.
I think you could probably characterize it as a sting, but again, the original complaints that began the investigation were from drug dealers.
Drug dealers who officials say complained about having to pay bribes. the highest more than $30,000. According to investigators, the Mississippi officers mentioned in the indictment promised to provide safe passage of narcotics throughout the Mississippi Delta region. Now, while 14 of the defendants were local law enforcement officers in Mississippi, 6 others were indicted as well. WRG digging deeper found out that those arrested were in Shelby County as well as northern Mississippi. Documents show those 6 civilians committed crimes in Greenville, Mississippi. However, all had addresses in Memphis, South Haven, and Horn Lake. Investigators identified the group as the investigation expanded.
Well, that's what we internally refer to as the Memphis crew, because when those drugs got to the state line, those folks were recruited by someone who was already in the conspiracy.
For the officers and sheriffs who were being investigated, were they suspended at any time during this investigation?
Essentially, no. We did not make an approach to have them suspended because that would have absolutely identified the fact that an investigation was taking place.
Investigators say they hope these arrests turn into convictions so justice can be served.
What the public needs to see, I think what all of us would want to see, whenever you have any kind of corruption that we're dealing with, is accountability. And that's what the next step is delivering accountability.
In Oxford, Mississippi, Brian Ditlake for your news leader, WREG News Channel 3.
That's
So-
endemic to this area, and it's worse in Memphis. The sheriff's department, police department, the jails are infused with gang members who operate internally, but they are not prisoners nor inmates. They wear uniforms. You have people in City Hall and in the chambers of the Clown Council and the Clown Commission who are as big a set of thieves and as corrupt as anybody that they've gotten down there in Mississippi, assuming that the state can meet its burden or the feds can meet the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt the guilt of the people charged. We have those here in Memphis and Shelby County who need to be charged as well, and some of them are elected and some of them are appointed. So we have a corruption problem that is enormous, and the people I've been talking to are so glad that Memphis and Shelby County has been targeted for extra law enforcement. Our local yokels have responded by filing a lawsuit against the governor, the commander of the Tennessee National Guard, and the Attorney General of the state, because they have sent extra law enforcement back up to Memphis. We have a contingent of people who have been deputized by the U.S. Marshal who are assisting. We have the state police here. We have the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And as aforesaid, we've got the National Guard, we've got ICE, we've got FBI, and we've got DEA, and we've got ATF here. And it is needed, and you can tell that crime has dropped. You can drive around the city, which I've been doing for the last several weeks, late at night, and you don't hear the gunshots, you don't hear the screeching tires, you don't hear the music being shared from 4 blocks away. People are feeling better about going out at night to go to a restaurant, to go to a movie, to go to a gas station and pump gas. And it is amazing. And I haven't heard anybody except some of the local Democrat yokels who are staunch blue jackasses who are against this. They keep talking about Trump is trying to impose totalitarian government, but that's not what's going on. It is a total breakdown of law and order because the people who got themselves elected to take care of the business of the citizenry are incapable, incompetent, unwilling, and indisposed to do that business that they got put into offices they were put in to do. They have used the opportunity to steal from the people, and the latest boondoggle is exposed by a whistleblower that involves the mayor of the city, the city council, to the extent of $100+ million ripoff through the local utility company by overbilling the customers. $100+ million. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's $220 million to finance a international hotel chain reconstructing a decrepit rat hole of a claptrap, rundown hotel downtown, $200-some million to develop 25 acres for luxury units downtown that somebody got for a steal. There is money that's being made and a lot more to be made where some people got elected to an office and managed to introduce legislation that let them buy city parks for just $1,000 with no bid. It's just endemic what's going on here. There are several $billion of taxpayers' money that have been ripped off by unscrupulous people who have defrauded the public into thinking that they are having their interests seen to. So something needs to be done. We need another sting operation. They had one called the Tennessee Waltz about 20 years ago that swept up a lot of political officials, black and white, all around the state who were corrupt. And we need a Memphis boogie to do the same thing right now. So it's a disgrace and a shame that these people do not have the integrity.
Are you serious? And he was sounding so good. Like he's better off camera, but somebody must have been calling him. He got knocked out. I don't know if you can hear me, Judge. If you can, you got to go out and come back in. Like, come on. Who's calling you this late anyway? Actually, let me take him out. Yeah. All right. He went out. He should be coming back in. I have not once told you guys to hit the like button. And the reason why I think this the reason why I have not is because when I do this live show on Monday, I clip this show and then I do it for uploads on this channel. So it's kind of like a live recorded show. Sometimes we do pre-recorded shows, which I do like to do. But if I'm doing a live, I always chop up the lives and put them up on uploads, which is why I don't do a lot of lives. So this is another reason we talking about different topics so that I can have different videos, multiple videos to upload. So I say all that to say, I didn't remind myself to remind you guys to hit the like button and share this video, but it's okay. I mean, I still hit it, but I just wasn't pressed for y'all to do it. Can you hear me?
You.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So one more thing. You was finished saying what you had to say with
Well,
the corruption.
what it is it's just endemic, and it is a shame that so many people have been talking about, vote for us because of our ethnic identity, just because of that. And they had such a great opportunity to do the right thing, but they just blew it, and they showed incompetence, and they showed just plain criminal evilness, and they've let the public down so badly.
And you know what? They don't care if they let the public down, because these police officers or law enforcement people who are, doing this type of corruptions, they are employed by the drug dealers, the drug cartels. They're getting money, probably more money than their salary. They don't give a damn about what they
but it's
swore to
not just
do,
the police.
Right.
It's not just
It
police.
goes
It's
up
also
the
the
train.
mayors, the
It goes
town
up that food
council, the
train.
aldermen,
Yeah.
the councilors, the whole bunch of them.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but what do most of these law enforcement officers look like?
Well, they're coming all
What did he look
black,
like?
white. Well, you mean in this particular city of Memphis
In this
and whatever.
particular, no, I'm not. I
Oh,
know
they're
what they
all
look
black.
like in Memphis, but
But
yeah,
see,
isn't that a
what
shame
it
that they
doesn't
had
matter because
opportunity? They're talking about police brutality and abuse, and they get a chance to be in charge, but they ruin the opportunity by being criminal.
but there are a lot of. Can you hear me, Judge? Oh my God, come on! You got to go out. You got to go. I don't know what happened. Yeah, can
I
you
hear
hear
you.
me? Can you? Okay. So I was going to say is if you ask a young black man, boy, male, or even a grown black adult, a lot of police brutality is not just white people beating up on black people. It's a lot of black cops that beat up on black people and actually kill them as well. Like police brutality is the race of blue. It's not a white face. It's whatever is in that blue uniform, that police officer uniform. There are a lot of black officers that display police brutality.
Yeah.
And, but that's never the narrative. I know someone personally who was recently murdered by the Newark Police Department. Now his family is going to sue, rightfully so, but that did not even reach any type of newspaper. It didn't reach nothing in social media. They swept that under the rug. Okay, we'll pay you. We fired the police officers. You will never see Ben Crump when it's a black face behind that, wearing that blue uniform. You're never going to hear it publicly. The closest we got was with the what happened in Memphis with those cops beating up that man.
Tyree
And that's because it
Nicholson,
was
that had nothing to do with
Tyree Nichols.
that. That has nothing to do with random police citizen contact. That was
Right,
intentional,
exactly.
deliberate, and it
So
involved some domestic issues, allegedly, that involved the deceased and the cops involved. So anyway,
right.
they
And
had a
for a very long time, the face of police brutality have been white. Now, but then in modern times and current times, the face is white, Hispanic, black, it's just a blue uniform. So yeah.
it.
But the point is corruption all around and it goes up that food chain.
Okay, there's another thing too. I say you are not off the mark, but I will also say there is an incorrect public perception of what happens in police citizen contacts. They have no obligation to persuade you to submit. They can order you to submit, and they can take what is a reasonable step to force you to submit. I was bringing this up earlier because I knew we were going to get here. Up until fairly recently, when a cop got out of a squad car to give you a ticket, he put his nightstick in its loop holster on his Sam Brown belt. And that nightstick is close to a yard long. And what the drill was, and it's not illegal, is if you resisted arrest, you were beaten into submission until you were able to be subdued and handcuffed and taken into custody. Nowadays, people think some cop is supposed to struggle with somebody until they voluntarily comply with his or her request to submit to being taken into custody. They don't have to.
Right.
So just remember that. And as a public relations thing, the cops don't do what they used to do, which is forcibly subdue.
So one last thing. This is the very last topic here. And I'm going to label this the DEI, CBS DEI firing. So I want to play this clip of this young man. He went viral talking about how he believed he was fired because he was black from CBS.
I just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person. Now, in my meeting with the executive who told me I was getting laid off, I specifically asked him if it was a consideration for us to be relocated somewhere else within the company, and he said that we advocated to keep the show. We advocated to try to get you relocated somewhere, and we couldn't. Because I asked him, why are you the person who is making this decision or delivering the news that we're being laid off? And he said, oh, it could have been anyone. Only to later find out, because it wasn't until I went downstairs thinking that me and all of my colleagues had been laid off, that I found out that it was only the people of color. So I went one by one to my white colleagues. Are you getting laid off? No. 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 So I went back up to his office and I told him, I think you lied to my face. And come to find out, it was not his decision to eliminate the show that I work for. But he did get to decide who got to stay. I told him, you said that you couldn't get us relocated, only to find out that you were able to get some people relocated and they all happen to be white. Am I supposed to believe that that's a coincidence? And he said, yes, I'm supposed to believe that's a coincidence. I said, do you believe that's a coincidence? He said, I do, because I chose to keep the people who I had worked with before. So mind you, not only is it not based on merit, it is in its result racist. I don't care if you decided to keep people who had purple colored hair. You deciding to keep people who you had worked with before, which don't even know if that's true. If the outcome of that decision is racist, the action was racist, that shit is fucked.
So I wanted to get, well,
my reaction to that, yeah, he's probably right. I would say this. I have worked many jobs over the last 60, 65 years, let's say. And the most truly racist place I've ever worked, the worst when it comes to racism and bigotry, is Hollywood. The absolute worst. And I'm not surprised. Before they made me a co-producer on my show, I was the shop steward for AFTRA. And I saw it a lot. My show, we had close on to 100 people, more than 100 people that worked on it. And very few of them were African American or black. It was noticeable. And I know I had to put my foot down, and I quit a few times. They came begging to get me back. But it was kind of, excuse me, you sent a 23-year-old who finished a year and a half of junior college over here to tell me, and I'm in my mid-50s, and I've been a real judge, I've been a lawyer, I went to UCLA Law School right down the road, and you're going to tell her to tell me that she's going to decide what I rule on? You can go straight to hell. It ain't going to happen like that. And, you know.
So do you think he has a lawsuit?
He might. But Title VII and EEOC have been so gutted under previous administrations that I don't know if they'll be able to handle it. And they've made dealing with those kind of actions so cripplingly expensive that what used to be just isn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, so many black folk get caught all up into all of their reality is based on what they see produced out of Hollywood, but some of it is the most insidiously racist stuff you'll ever see.
Well,
if I can give just an example, the biggest box office for any superhero movie, the biggest of all time, was for Black Panther. The biggest box office in the United States came out of Memphis at a movie theater called the Paradiso, and it was because of Black patrons all across the country. And that movie had so much that was poisonous to Black people in it that you saw Black people cheering. It was a disgrace, and it was a disappointment to see the ignorance and what had happened with being subjected to that kind of dysfunctional propaganda for a half century.
Right. Well,
So that is the funny thing about it. Several times Hollywood has been close to being bankrupt, but they found ways to save themselves by coming up with a movie that was carefully crafted to appeal to Black folk, but they always took the moment to put something negative in there. The reason that they came up with Black Panther is interesting. It was Marvel. Marvel is Walt Disney. Walt Disney was hooked up with ABC, and in 2011, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Disney and ABC were liable to the production effort known as So You Want to Be a Millionaire, to the tune of $570-some million. In the interim, that ramped up to $1.25 billion, and Hollywood just doesn't have that much cash on hand because a lot of what they do is reciprocity, lines of credit, et cetera, et cetera. So in order to keep Disney properties from being sold and ABC properties from being foreclosed upon, they came up with Black Panther to deliver the cash flow to pay down some of the interest as per an agreement with the courts. So Black people again bailed a major Hollywood entity out of a bankrupt situation. That was how blaxploitation got started 55 years ago, was to bail Hollywood out of a bankrupt situation that was brought about by color TV.
Okay,
So
I need to
we don't get it.
I need to swing it back to this because
That's what I'm saying. It's a racist, sick cesspool, but some places are even lower than the bottom of the cesspool. There's sumps in the cesspool. And that's what too much of ethnic United States of America guides itself on. And that's from an entity that basically hates it and looks upon them as subservient, secondary, inferior people.
So I want to play this other clip because Gayle King, who works for CBS The Morning Show, she's one of the hosts. There's been speculation that she's going to be fired or / let go. So I want to play this clip.
Hi, good morning, Miss King. Nice to see you. How are you? So
good to
see you. It was very, very shocking to see those reports yesterday. We're all wondering if you might be going in another direction. Do you have an answer as of yet?
No, all I can say is this. From what I'm being told inside this building, take a shot, 524 West 52nd Street. All I've been told by everybody in this building is that they want me here. They like the job I'm doing. I like the job I'm doing. I'll say this, I like the job and the people that I work with. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about it. But what I'm hearing in the building is not what I'm reading in the press. And what I'm not going to do is negotiate in the media. Not doing that.
All right. Do you have an idea like what things might look like in May if the show's going in another direction?
I have no idea.
No idea.
All I know is I am here. I am here and glad to be here.
I'm happy to see them, Miss
Bye,
King.
Tiffany.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good.
So that was Gayle King. So Vanity Fair put out that Gayle King has been the face of CBS News morning show for more than a decade, is expected to depart as an anchor of the morning program next year. The negotiations are about to ensue just as Paramount is cutting ties with dozens of staffers at CBS News and hundreds of more across the larger company. So maybe this is not a race thing.
Viacom, CBS, and Paramount are some of the biggest crooks you'll find anywhere in the nation. They routinely engage in insider trading, market manipulation. They steal from the talent. They are always misappropriating funds, violating contracts, and what they usually do is they just offer the person a deal that they typically renege upon if he or she does not press the issue. The problem is it takes time and it takes the right kind of law office in order to oppose what they do. Now, they are crooked. I've dealt with them. I've caught some of their executives in criminal enterprises. They're no longer with them. I've seen some of the evil that they are up to. They sit on leather sofas in 5-star hotel bars, and they giggle as they're drinking wine and bragging about how they stabbed each other in the back. And the things they do that they routinely expect others to try to do to them because they're done in return would usually get somebody with broken kneecaps or arms or worse in the real world. Imagine, if you can, a group of people who aren't just into things for money, but are into things for agendas, and that is an important thing. They are trying to push the rainbow as hard as they can, and in ways that most people wouldn't recognize until they really thought about it. They don't care. They steal, they lie, they are dishonest, and they make it very difficult for anybody to go against them. They get fired, and 3 days later they get hired at another job for more money, doing the same thing just as ineptly as they've all done. You sit down with a meeting and there's the CEO, the second existence, and whatever. And 3 years ago, the CEO was subordinate to somebody that's now his assistant, and they're all been sleeping in the same bed with each other, literally and figuratively. And it's not about money. It's about what they're doing in a lifestyle that they're trying to deal with, and they're inefficient, and they've run out of money. The secret is up until about 25 years ago, West Germany was funding a lot of what Hollywood did. But about 25 years ago, they wised up 10 years after the wall came down and decided to put that money and that effort into themselves. So Hollywood had to find a new way. And then there was the change in the media, and they run scared. So they cheat, lie, and they steal a lot.
Right.
I worked for them, I know.
Yeah. Listen.
I'm gonna write a book. I think I will write a book about some of that sick stuff.
Thank you.
Some of it got funny.
Thank you, executive. He says in Super Chat, I'm in New York City. He came out of nowhere, just like AOC. Congestion pricing was already put in place by the governor this year. It affects Uber prices as well. Young liberals love his exaggerated promises. Talking about Zohran Mamdani. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. And that's
You remember the comedy character in that stupid movie they did 2 of? Zohran.
No, I told you that's your generation.
No, it's not that long ago. You can still catch it on cable.
Okay.
It's a clown show type thing.
So thank you, Tony. She says, Dana, when you are under surveillance, it's frustrating as heck. You will never understand. Well, honey, are you under surveillance? Because you claim you get only $1,400 a month, your Social Security, and you only qualify for $24 in food stamps. So how would you know that it's frustrating? And because I am associated with someone who has been under surveillance, that makes me under surveillance by proxy. Thank you.
Well,
Kai,
let me make one comment on that. About 4 years ago on New Year's Eve, they were going to drop the ball in Times Square, but there had apparently been some advisement that there was a suspicion that terroristic activity would occur. They were talking to this NYPD police captain, and the people on air were asking him, aren't you worried about this? He said, well, we know 85% of the crowd by name, maybe 90%. So how do you do that? He said, well, we're collaborating with Facebook on their facial recognition algorithms, and 95% of the American adult public is subject to being recognized by facial recognition algorithms. So we know just about everybody in the crowd by name. He said, all of these people, yeah, we know 90-some percent, and we can identify 90% of the crowd by name just off of facial recognition algorithms. So that's what they have done with the American system, because everybody wants to instantaneously share what they've done, and nobody understands privacy anymore. But it's something we've given up that will be much to our detriment if the wrong people get their hands on it. And I assure you, it's not Donald Trump at all. It's the people that are complaining about he might that really are.
land the plane. Thank you. Voodoo says, meanwhile, Elon's getting billions in welfare. He sure is, because billionaires love to get them government contracts and
Oh,
grants.
yeah. But look what he's doing.
Okay. I'm not going down that Elon.
I'm not going to, but you
All right,
see,
so
how
I got to
many
move on to
people
this other
work
super
for
chat.
his enterprises?
That's fine. I got to move on to a super chat. You're right. So he needs funding for the government to pay his people. But
Yeah.
anyway, Kai's welfare. Kai's deep image. Thank you. He says these. You said okay. This is exactly what he wrote. These Dana here. The judge perfect said. Judge appreciate you. Okay.
Thank you. I got you.
I don't.
I do.
What do he mean?
In other words, keep on doing it, Joe. You're doing it. Go ahead. Anyway.
So this Ebonics, these THESE, Dana, HERE, the judge, perfect, said, Judge, appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay. Did you see what I sent you about? Can you decipher what is being said in code in that little thing I sent?
What did you send me?
Take a look at your messages. I just sent it right at the start of the show.
Yeah, I don't got time for all that.
No, I mean, just look at it when
You
you
know
get
what?
through.
No, you know
when you
what?
get through.
No, he was typing and maybe he was typing fast, honey. You need to send in a super chat clarifying what the hell you just said, because what I read that's not coherent English. Sorry. Tony, again, even though you didn't send a super chat, but talking slick. I'm so sick of Dana tonight. Well, you can lay down until I'm done, since you're sick of me. Take a break. Take a mental break. Yeah. Sometimes you need a mental break.
Okay. Be gentle on Dana. Be gentle on Dana.
No, you don't gotta be gentle. Just take them. Everybody just take not everybody. Take a mental break. That's all. It's that simple. Thank you to Jackals of Tierra Argentum. Thank you. All right, and That's it. So your X account is down. I want to get another account. What about TikTok? I want to start going on TikTok.
I might go on Truth Social or something like that. I think I've got some numbers from one of our listeners who sometimes comes on X Space with us. He's got a thing, and he gave me some direct contacts, and I'm going to contact them. I just needed a break. Also got some interesting algorithms.
Their Truth Social don't have spaces.
I know they don't, but on X, I got told something interesting. If you're controversial, usually people do not follow you because a lot of folk got fired because they followed the wrong people. That's why Musk came up with that offer that if you've been fired or disciplined at work because of who you followed or what you indicated you liked, then we will defend you at our expense. But a lot of that is a reality. And when you do what you do, or I do what I do, the thing that I got from the inside trying to get this straightened up is that roughly 5 to 6 times as many people are actively following you acting like they follow you as do follow you because they can't indicate it.
All right. Thank you again, Tony. She says, because my family was under surveillance 18 months straight out, we sold everything to seek asylum in Canada. We are denied. I worked in media, Dana. PTB don't want you to know about the pole shift. I don't know what PTB stands for. I don't know what that acronym means. So, you sold everything to seek asylum in Canada. So maybe that's why you only get $24 a month in food stamps. But this is America. So you in Canada. And why were your family under surveillance where you had to sell everything and go to Canada? What were they doing that they should not have been doing here in America? It sounds like you have a very interesting story, Tony. And so next week I will be having the phone lines open because I'm going to have the judge call in, and I would love for you to call in, Tony, to elaborate a little bit more about your interesting story because that sounds juicy. And I wish, and maybe if the judge was still on X, you'll probably got hop on X as well, but he's not on X. Thank you, Hella Mel. Thank you, Dana and Judge. Good show tonight. Thank you, Hella Mel. Appreciate you. And thank you, Walter. He sent me a Cash App. Walter always sends me Cash App when I go live or drop a video. So I appreciate you, Walter, so much. And that's it. Thank you, Judge. I appreciate you as always. Even though you get on my nerves sometimes, but appreciate you.
I am a master of cause and effect, and I see certain things, had to deal with certain things in very large numbers of those things. So I have some conclusions about how they came about. That's all.
All right. All right, everybody. Listen, have a wonderful week. I will see you live Wednesday, just me. Judge, look out for the Injustice for All episode dropping Thursday. Yes. I don't know if I'm going to have a panel on Friday. That's going to be touch and go. Depends on if something juicy is trending. So we'll catch you live Wednesday with me and yours next week, Monday with the judge. And, damn, no more X right now. Whatever, Judge.
They said I was a robot.
Account. Just get another account.
They said I would
needed another account for you.
They said if I tried to get another account, I would be blocked for life from even being able to apply for some reconsideration.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Appreciate you.
That's just censorship, really.
Yeah.
It's not Musk. He hired some feminists to manage the affairs of X, and I think there's been a relapse of bad habits.
All right. Bye, guys. Good night. I need to have. Let me do something real quick.
What's wrong with the video?
We haven't seen you for the past hour. You sound much.
I know, but I'm just saying, what
We
happened
still
to the
on.
video?
Why are you talking? We still on.
Oh, I thought you were finished.